I gotta have it.
Which I do remember getting some of the sauce when they finally put it out.
Really?
They're just reasonably asking, may I have some?
Is it just like a sweet and sour, or like
Sweet and sour with like a brick of salt in it. So, which McDonald's is already salt. So.
yeah, and sugar.
Except also
I had it
sugar.
last night.
Their
Salt and
buns,
sugar.
their buns are so sweet. You would most of the caloric value in the buns is
I have not.
sugar.
I've not had a McDonald's burger in like 10 years.
It's been about
So.
12 hours for me.
Dude, nailing it. That's living.
And,
What's up? I like this.
The clicky
don't
sound.
abuse the power. He's penciling too hard. You're gonna pencil yourself to death.
Oh no!
You'll shoot your eye out.
I believe in
the yes. The yes can kill everything. Dance. Ding 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 ding. Stop! I dropped my contact. Found it. Boom boom boom.
Wait,
That is
let's do the fork in the garbage disposal.
I don't know what's going on right now.
Well, you should.
I need mic checks from
kinda
everybody,
fabulous.
please. Can I get Commander?
Hey, what's up? I had a really good time. We're going to talk about the Insight launch, or Insight landing, whatever it did on Monday. And it's going to be really, really cool because we were really, really excited.
Thank you, Capcom.
Hello. We're going to talk about what Jared said that we're going to talk about, but probably better than he said it, hopefully. So I'm just kidding. Oh, no.
Oh,
I'm guessing too. I'm knowing too hard.
Thank you. Jade, are you concerned about your position being a crotch shot for the main camera?
Oh, is it can you...
I haven't seen anything, but
No,
I'm just saying it's
I'm quite comfortable and I'm very aware.
copy. MS1, is that Sarah?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. They all talked about real things. I'm going to whisper so that you think that I'm saying things, but eventually you will reveal your actual plan because you think that I have already revealed it. And that's...
Thank you. Benny.
Me? Oh, hi. I guess I'm just here for comic relief and other things like that. Because you're not funny. Hey, do we need to do something to like a table or something? Or do you not care? Like the crotchal shottle kind of shots?
I personally don't care.
I think the audience loves it.
All right. Hey. What's happening?
I mean, they're not. I'm in the chat and they're not complaining, so that's because I can't see the chat. So
Look up for me, Jared. Okay,
Oh,
don't
man.
be
Buck
creepy.
up, soldier.
you best smarten yourself up. Or, oh,
We
words
have a
I can't
guest.
say.
For Sparta.
Great.
Hello.
Conrad.
Hi there.
Hey, can you hear us
Hey.
all right?
Yes, and how about me? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely. You also got us just at mic check time as well, so we're going to do a really quick mic check with you. The easiest way to do that is let us know what you had for dinner last night.
What did I have for dinner last night? Fish and chips.
Nice.
What's your favorite meal of all time?
Fish and chips.
Yeah, look, fish and chips. Why not?
He heard us.
You have enough data?
Space Mike.
My gosh, there's 3 of these.
So we're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff today. Picosats, only 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters, even smaller than CubeSats. And oh man, technology is getting smaller, it's getting better all the time, and I cannot wait to talk about it. Very excited for today.
Thank you.
Cool.
Everyone is able to hear Space Mike okay in his ear, in your ears? You seemed loud enough this week? Great.
Yeah.
All right, and Conrad, what time is it locally for you?
It's 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh my
here in
gosh.
Perth.
That is magical, is what that is.
The witching hour.
So I don't know if this has been described to you. So the format of the show is going to be a very casual conversation. It's broken into 3 segments, and your interviews in the second segment. But the first part is just us nerding out about space events that happen. Specifically this week, we're talking about InSight. We're also going to be also there's Lisa saying hi.
Hi, Lisa.
We're going to be talking about InSight, the InSight landing, and we're also going to be talking about the recent NASA announcement of a bunch of different companies going to the moon. Did you want to be part of that conversation in the beginning, or would you like us to only bring you in during the interview portion? Any answer is okay. I realize it's scary early for you, and I don't want to throw a curveball at you. But like, if you were passionate about InSight and you wanted to say anything about InSight, we can bring you in. Same thing about the moon announcement.
Yeah, look, with InSight, here in Perth, there's one of the researchers at one of our universities actually has an instrument on there, on the lander. It's the seismic instrument. So I could perhaps say something around that.
If you want to, again, it's a casual. So think of it like when you go out with friends and you're just at the table and you're nerding out over space stuff and just like having a good time. You'd be like, "Can you believe that?" That's what we're doing. So that's all it is. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to be a part of the, oh my God, that was awesome, and just give your 2 cents, that's great. Otherwise, we don't have to put you in. I know it's 2 a.m. for you. So it's whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to stick around for the first part, and I'll probably only ever say something around about the InSight thing.
Okay.
If and when it comes up.
All right, so Dada, why don't we give it a shot and see how it works? And go from there.
Conrad, can you tilt your camera down just a smidge?
I lost my.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And how's that?
And
Perfect.
that's good. That's great. And
Perfect.
Mike, can you check your focus, please?
And Conrad, just want to ask you, your last name, is it pronounced Pierce?
Pierce.
Pierce, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, Pierce, yep.
And host, remember, you're all staying on for the interview as well. So if you have interesting questions, comments, anything during the interview segment, feel free to just jump in. Again, the whole show is that casual conversation nerding out about space. I don't want to feel like we're scripted, blocked.
Good data? Better? Worse? Looks better to me.
You're just a little bit fuzzy. I don't know if it's bandwidth or focus. We'll go with it.
Just try just a little bit further.
Are we just in regular chat?
That looks worse to me.
Yeah, we have to just be in regular chat this week, Lisa.
Copy.
That's worse.
Oh no, that's worse. Damn. Worse, damn it.
That's suitable.
That's probably as good as I'm gonna get. Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. Do I have a host channel, or is that not a thing?
I think that's not a thing.
I think that's not a thing.
Not a thing.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're just going to have to, I would recommend just kind of perusing the regular chat, and then what you're just going to have to do, Jared, is we're not going to be able to push anything, so just kind of mention the comment and the commenter, and just kind of give them credit as best you can.
Okay.
And go from there.
I'm actually trying to find the chat, wherever it is.
Do you need me to, you need some help?
Yeah. I don't know if I have to be logged in for chat or not. So.
Here, let's do this.
Shows you how often I watch things on YouTube. So.
Lafayette.
Be able to pull out just the YouTube chat window.
Thanks.
Do you want that? Do you want your rundown too?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Do you know you want it split screen?
Sure. Yeah, let's split
Do you
screen.
know how to do that?
I don't. You showed me.
You take that tab and you just drag it over here.
Whoa.
Isn't it cool?
Wow. My mind is blown.
We ready? What's my offset? 5 minutes?
Currently 3.
Mars Mountain, thank you very much.
You guys ready?
Hold up a sec. Sorry.
All good.
I'm just getting things in order here. Okay. Sorry.
Jared even manages to touch loud.
All right. Let's rock and roll.
It's not untrue.
It's just enthusiastic.
And welcome to tomorrow episode Orbit 11.47. Oh boy, I'm still just as excited as you saw in the intro right there. And I guess to introduce ourselves, go around real quick. I'm Jared. You saw me very excited in the intro there. I'm the resident astronomer. We've also got...
Hey, I'm Jade. I was also excited, but you couldn't see it as much.
Yeah, you couldn't see Jade because of me. I'm Sarah.
And then we've got, of course, our hologram from Arizona.
Hello. The mythical land of Arizona. How's it going, everybody?
And then we've got our guest is joining us for this early part here today. We've got Conrad Piers from PicoSat Systems. So glad to have you on today.
Hi there.
All right. So the first thing
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. First thing that we're going to talk about today, obviously, is InSight landing on the surface of Mars. It was a tremendously exciting thing. Not sure you could tell.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, kind of a big deal about what we were able to experience. And I kind of just want to walk around the room with everybody and talk a little bit about what they experienced. And maybe in the chat room, you can also tell us what you experienced. And even in the comments as well, feel free when you're watching the show to add to the comments what you felt, what you experienced if you watched InSight land, or what you feel now that InSight has successfully landed on the surface of Mars. So I'll just toss it straight to you, Jade. We'll just go right to
Jump
what
right on
that
in.
was like.
Well, I'll say this: it was officially my first landing event that I ever got to attend, and I am so incredibly thankful to Lisa over here for making it all possible.
Thank you, Lisa.
And there's
Thank
no
you, Lisa.
better group of people I could have imagined sharing that moment with, because as soon as you walk into first of all, it was a giant room. Every seat was filled with people from as little as this to as very old.
To as tall as Jared.
And no, just the excitement was so tangible, and everybody, and a big part of the InSight team was there, and it was such an honor to be able to usher in, landing the 8th one on Mars,
eighth
the
vehicle.
8th successful vehicle. Like, it was it's like being at a sports game. If I had any love or affinity for sports, I feel like this is how it would be. And yeah, touchdown, goal, woo! It was amazing. Oh gosh.
Yeah. And Sarah, what was it like being in that room?
Oh, that same for me. It was my first landing event, and I'm super excited for the science coming from this. So it's. I want to know about the core of Mars. I'm so excited. I can't actually. Anyway, so. When we better understand the core of Mars, we'll have a better idea of what happened to it and Earth's future, and that's so huge. And I just love that we're sending little robots to Mars, the only planet fully occupied by robots, totally people populated by robots. We added another citizen. It's just amazing.
Excellent. I'm going to go to you, Conrad, before we go to Mike. What were you guys watching live when it landed?
Yeah, I was up pretty early. I think I set my alarm for 3 in the morning, and then followed it, which I think it happened about an hour later or so my time. So that was pretty exciting to hear them talk it all the way down through EDL. And I think there was a gap at one point where no one was saying anything, so I was a bit worried about what was happening. But it all worked out. And the other exciting thing is, so I'm here in Perth in Western Australia, And we actually have a research scientist here, Dr. Katerina Milkovic, who is part of the mission, and she'll be investigating Marsquakes with InSight. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah, and InSight, very much a collaborative mission between the French Space Agency and NASA and several other space agencies from other small countries as well, and including the European Space Agency. So a genuinely ultra collaborative mission with that there. And Space Mike, what about you? What was it like for you?
Oh man, so just watching it live, like I'm sure a lot of folks watching now were watching, I was so impressed by not only the amount of women that were in the Mission Control Center and the diversity that was there, but I was most impressed by the Marco CubeSats. I mean, it was just a technology demonstrator. They didn't know if they were going to work, to be able to send real-time relay signals back to Earth, and they worked perfectly. And so I'm excited for the future because this is a game changer when it comes to using CubeSats and small satellites for interplanetary exploration. So, oh man, I am just the entire thing was really, really exciting to watch, and I'm really hopeful for the data that we'll get back hopefully in a couple of months once they deploy the different sensors and get things going for that. But boy, are the possibilities starting to become even greater now with those Marco CubeSats working the way that they were supposed to.
Yeah, and being in the room with everybody there was really exciting. I had it was a tremendous event. I've actually done Mars landings before. I watched Phoenix land in what was that, 2008, I believe, and then I was part of an event when Curiosity landed with the Sky Crane, which was basically like we've tested each individual bit, but we haven't tested it all together. We're doing that as we land on Mars. Yeah. So that was tremendously exciting, I kind of went in with optimistic confidence because I knew InSight was based off of Phoenix. Yeah. So I wasn't too worried about the technical side of things, like, oh, something's going to break or something like that. But it was still tremendously nervous. If you go on my Twitter feed, you can see I posted my heart rate from my Apple Watch, which peaked at about 145 during landing. And also, if you go back and you watch the footage, you can see that I'm breathing really heavily. I don't know what anybody was laughing at because I was just so locked in. You see, I didn't laugh with everybody. And actually, I watched it. I watched it on my laptop screen because I shot it in 4K, and I could see my eyes just boom. They got really big all of a sudden, so much that I could actually see my hair move on my forehead. And then finally it landed, and I was very excited. In case you couldn't tell about that, and I'm just so excited about it because the geology that InSight is going to do it really is genuinely important to understanding the formation of the terrestrial planets here in the solar system. And once we add that to the equation, then we can look at if that's going to modify how the outer planets formed or how the asteroid belt formed or other things in our own solar system. So it really adds a sort of a rich depth to data that we don't necessarily have. And I don't know about you, but I'm honestly hoping that Mars is a little bit weirder than Earth on the inside. Yeah. Because that would be a tremendous result if Mars is a little off, even if it's a slight amount off from what we have here on Earth. That would be an incredible result, and that would kind of change how we have to look at planetary formation and planetary evolution over time as well. So
that would be cool. I think we're going to find that Mars is about what we expect.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I have to take a dollar bet, I would say that it's going to be exactly like Earth. Well, maybe not exactly. Right. I think the core is going to be solid on the inside because there's no magnetic field at Mars, unlike the dynamo here at Earth. That, so
yeah, I mean Mars, and I think the magnetic field is caused by convection. So I think we're going to find that it's just pretty cool in there, relatively speaking. Yeah.
Are we going to be able to get an insight into perhaps Mars's more geologically active past, however, with this data?
Potentially.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it may yield that. We may see areas where the mantle is not nice and at a certain depth, I guess is how I would say it. We may see parts of the mantle that are asymmetrical, like there's been a plume of lava that's gone up and sort of hardened, like what we would call intrusive igneous rock in that area. So
Rude igneous rock.
very rude igneous rock, as opposed to extrusive igneous rock, which is just kind of like out there and leading the party. So
the impact that we think created the difference between the northern and southern hemispheres.
Yes.
What if there's evidence of that
my
within
gosh.
the internal structure?
Because that should have that would have stripped everything off down to the mantle. So we may end up finding that the mantle goes all the way up to the surface at the northern hemisphere.
Mars is mantle.
That would be ridiculous. Oh my gosh. So. Holy moly. I want to go to some of the comments in the chat room just because you guys have got some really great things. Kay McCoy says, the Mars InSight landing, my mom immediately noticed, wow, look at all those women in the control room. I noticed that too. Yeah. It was a real great, diverse group that they had in there. Yep. We also have Frida that said, yes, watch live, lots of good memories. Good to see the NASA administrator, Jim Bridenstine, there.
Yeah.
And interviewing. Now waiting for the lens cap to pop off for a dust-free image, which it did.
Yep.
They're taking images from the deck, the camera attached to the arm, which is going to stay there for a bit of time. So probably no new images besides the deck images until 2019. But hey, it works good. Really good name for this next person, Landing Ellipse. I was in a Japanese restaurant in, I'm assuming that's Lille, France, when InSight landed. Some weird looks from those around me as I cheered it on. And then we have two really good questions from our chat room. Melon Yusk is asking, how long will Marco, the CubeSats that were used to relay the information from InSight back to Earth, which, by the way, they worked perfectly. So excellent job to the team at JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, that worked on Marco. How long will Marco remain in comms with Earth? Anybody here happen to know how long they will? So
no,
I'm not sure because I think that they just did a quick flyby of Mars and they're going to keep on going. And I have no idea if they're still in contact with them or not, or how far they could possibly go before we would lose signal with those things. But I don't know, but just the antennas that they did have. I mean, the fact that they worked from Mars and we were able to get that data as quickly as we did is really impressive.
Yeah, and it was very exciting to see those images from the cameras that were on Marco. They had these little itty bitty cameras, and they would take images, a very wide field of view, so you could see the X-band antenna and a little bit of the solar panel there. And they got photos both on approach, the closest that they were to Mars, and outbound from Mars. And if I remember hearing correctly, a little bit after the landing, they said that they're going to talk with Marco a little bit to see how much fuel or propellant is still on board of those two CubeSats to see just how well they did on their way there. So they're still going to do some engineering tests for at least a couple days after. Who knows? We may end up staying in contact with them. And as they go further out, that may be a possibility to potentially do something with them. You know, you can, if they stay alive long enough, there's a lot of radio science that you can do with an X-band antenna out in space. So just JPL, if you need an idea, I got you covered with that there. And then we've also got Miko 1, which is, would CubeSats be able to perform gravity assist maneuvers? So who wants to take on that one? So.
Yeah, the answer is yes. You don't necessarily need propulsion on a CubeSat in order to do a gravity assist. You just need a planet with a strong enough gravity field in order to do that gravity assist. So just as long as your trajectory is just right, you can do a gravity assist around just about anybody.
Yeah, and I saw a really cool discussion that was happening on Twitter a couple days ago between several engineers that I follow on Twitter, and they were talking about using the atmosphere of a planet to capture CubeSats into orbit around them, and using these aerobraking a CubeSat, and then very interestingly saying that if you were to put the corner of the CubeSat and you could change the angle of it. You could generate lift, so you could actually change things like inclination or other stuff on arrival as you're flying through the atmosphere, which is just like ridiculous to think about that you could do that with this little itty bitty thing. We will talk a little bit later about ridiculous itty bitty things with Conrad with PicoSat systems, which is I'm very excited to talk about that because Marco's basically proven now that yes, interplanetary CubeSats are a thing. And Conrad, how do you kind of feel about that?
Well, look, it's really good because sneak peek. We can send these out to asteroids as well, so we're quite excited that those CubeSats made it all the way out to Mars.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff. All right, so I think leave your comment about what you thought with the InSight landing because we could talk for hours on end about what it was like. I mean, I'm just getting like a little bit of adrenaline again, just kind of thinking about it because it's just such an exciting thing, and it's just so cool to see that yes, the engineering works, and yes, what we expected to happen actually did happen. Science. Yes. So. We are going to move on, though, because not only did we have a very exciting Mars landing this week for NASA, we also had another very exciting announcement from NASA and Administrator Jim Bridenstine, which is something that I know all of us who are here at TMRO have basically been pining at ever since the COTS program, the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services program, was announced, which is that we've wanted COTS to not just work in Earth orbit. Sarah? Tell us a little bit about this new program that NASA is initiating.
We're going to the moon!
Woo! We landed on the moon!
50 years ago next year, tomorrow, 20 days from now.
Yeah, some odd amount of days from now, so we'll celebrate Apollo 8. So.
Yes. Okay. So with we had the COTS program, now we've got the CLPS program.
CLPS!
CLPS! Commercial Lunar Payload Services. We love our acronyms, really.
I don't know about that, but okay.
I was being facetious. Okay, so on the 29th, NASA announced 9 companies that have won a contract to develop lunar landers to work with NASA. Okay, so these contracts are kind of, you design it, all 9 of you, and we'll pick one.
Yeah, that's the way it kind of goes.
Right?
So, yeah.
I know.
Ooh,
it's okay.
I want all 9.
Right, can we? Can we, NASA, please?
Yeah,
please, can we?
Yeah, Ben's off camera saying 2 at least.
At least 2.
So that would be nice. I mean, that's what they did with COTS.
Well, you know, I mean, once they're designed, all they would have to do was say, hey, SpaceX, you want to launch it for me? And they could land their own lunar landing device.
Yeah.
So it's possible. And I think that would happen with the Israeli lunar lander that's going to be launched.
Yes.
Coming up in January. Yeah. So they missed out on the X Prize. But they just got funding anyway and continued with their mission. We're like, we designed it. Let's build it anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe these companies, whichever 8 don't make the cut, we'll do that too. And we'll have 9. We'll just be chucking all sorts of landers up to the moon.
Leaving a bunch of junk wherever we go. Just a bunch of messy humans. So just leaving a bunch of garbage all over the surface.
Right? So. Now, a lot of these companies have already worked with NASA. Mm-hmm. Some of these names are pretty familiar. Lockheed Martin, Draper, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then some of them are a little less familiar. Like I looked at one, Moon Express, and said, "Wait, there's a company in Canaveral?
Whomst is this?" So, yeah, absolutely. So
what?
Moon Express originally was on the Google Lunar X Prize as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so the goal of these projects, these lunar landers, what they have to do is be able to land at least 10 kilograms of experiment or instrument on the surface of the moon. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Sounds pretty achievable.
Yeah, and 10 kilograms, that's small enough that you should be able to maybe use like a single stick rocket in order to get you up, whatever flavor rocket you're looking at with that.
I like candy cane.
And then 10 kilograms is also with essentially the miniaturization of instrumentation.
Yeah.
You definitely should be able to get these little itty bitty instruments down to the surface of the moon with plenty of ability to land wherever you'd like.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it's, I don't want to say so easy, But they do anticipate having something fly next year.
Oh,
Cool.
already.
Right. I know.
Oh.
I'm so excited.
Quite a few of these
We're going
are
to the
pretty
moon!
far along in development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wowza. I just want to say some of the other companies involved in it, we've actually had on the show.
Yeah.
Firefly Aerospace, we had them on Orbit 7.26. So they're an actual company that we talked about a very long time ago. That would be back in 2014 when we had them on the show. So, hey, look at that. 4 years later, they're getting ready to go to the moon.
Amazing.
Also, Maston Space Systems. Maston! We love you, Maston! Dreamy Dave.
Confirmed.
Dave Maston is not only been on this show a lot, but he's a really great friend to a lot of us and been doing a tremendous amount of work on basically autonomous landings.
All of the things.
Yeah, if you can think about it, Maston has thought about it 4 to 5 years before you did. I guess that's how I would put it. So
He's basically Iron Man.
yeah, basically one of the OG new space companies and one of the longest surviving new space companies as well. And it's so awesome to see them in the competition for this.
He was landing and reusing rockets before it was cool.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say like 2007, 2008 is when they started doing that.
Well, yeah, right around there, he won the X Prize, the Northrop Grumman
Lunar
Lunar Lander
Lander
X Prize Challenge.
Northrop
Cup
Grumman,
of-
a division,
the space division of Northrop. I don't know.
Yeah.
What it is anymore.
We
But
did
yeah,
it.
However it goes.
He won.
So, yeah, and just a couple questions from our chat room here about this from Citizen 52406, kind of commenting a little bit about the only picking one lander. They say, yeah, isn't NASA all about redundancy? It makes more sense to have at least 2 lander options, and I don't think anybody up here is going to disagree about having more landers for the moon. More.
Right. Yeah, more.
Yeah, what's wrong with more?
Why stop at one?
Yeah, there's
Right.
nothing wrong with more. I mean, with both
See, I
landers.
guess I misunderstood this whole announcement because the way that I interpret it was that they were going to use all 9 of these different providers, and it was all just kind of based on what the experiments were, what the science experiments were, and also where they want to land. Like they might use some landers for like equatorial and others for like landing near the poles or something like that. But it's only going to be 1, maybe 2 of these landers are actually going to be chosen in the same way that the COTS program had a couple of competitors and then whittled it down.
Well, from the way I understood it, yeah. But I, again, could be wrong. If you know better than I do, definitely let me know. Because
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's just the way it seemed to me,
actually-
was that all 9 of these could potentially be used.
So some of the
for-
wording seemed like it might be that way, and then because the word indefinitely is in here a lot. In the announcement,
Good old PR.
indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts, but
That's an interesting
and then there's
contract
another-
name. Yeah, wait a second. That's some interesting legalese I've never heard before.
right? Okay,
So-
so I was reading both coverage and the NASA announcement, and I think other people were getting it wrong, and I think I pulled information from the wrong place, because then in the NASA Solar System Exploration page, lunar payloads could fly on these contracted missions as early as 2019.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Potentially.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah.
So good catch.
Yeah, I
on
think
that.
it is.
So-
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not trying to say that you're wrong or anything like that, but just like it just with all these different companies and everything like that, some of them are pretty far along, and there's a few that I've never heard of before, like Intuitive Machines and Orbit Beyond. Never heard of those companies before, but if NASA has the confidence in them, that's okay with me. For some of these other companies, though, that we've been talking about, I mean, I know that they've been working on these projects for a long time. Oh, okay, this is an example of the Orbit Beyond lander.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Very
finding more
interesting.
information on that company was really difficult. But luckily,
I
NASA
bet.
provided these images.
Yeah,
Cool.
interesting. Hardware, holy moly.
at that.
Hardware made in secret. Also, Stormer is asked, does this contract not include the launch provider, which I believe it does not include launch providers, right?
As far as I know, no.
So, yeah, go out and get your own launcher. for that, whoever you want to choose. And then Sir Game-A-Lot just letting us know the payload that they would fly. 10 kilograms worth of gummy bears. The experiment is to see if we can bait moon aliens to take some. And I say if you want to have a lot of fun with the moon aliens, make them cinnamon sugar-free gummy bears and have fun with that.
Oh,
anyways.
That's just cruel, man.
Yeah, it's a little bit dangerous. And talking about some dangerous things, Jade.
Wow. Yes.
Tell us about something that's a little dangerous on the International Space Station.
So, a recurring theme on this show, there's a couple. One, don't die.
Yes.
Yeah. It's one of our rules. And number two is all of the risks that astronauts and cosmonauts take when they go up to the ISS and chill out there for a few, months or however long they are up there. And actually, a recent study was done on some bacteria found in the ISS, specifically around the toilet and the exercise quarters. And they found get it out, get out the fifth grade jokes. That's great, Dad. But essentially, what they did was they found a strain of bacterium called
One science word.
Enterobacter. And they studied these strains and they compared it with, I think, over 1,000 strains of that bacteria found on Earth. And although right now this bacteria is not immediately harmful to humans, they actually put it through a computer simulation. And let me grab the real statistic here. Authors predicted that 79% probability that these bacterium could eventually cause potential harm to living organisms, such as us humans, or not us, but whoever goes up to space. It could be us.
Yeah.
And so the importance of studying it now is, okay, so what can we do to potentially mitigate a pathogenic, reaction in the future? And the actual name of it is Enterobacter buginensis. Terrifying name. But you might, maybe, even though I'm slaughtering the pronunciation, trust me, I scoured all of YouTube to try to say it correctly, and so I'm sorry to the bacteria world. But essentially, maybe you've heard of it, and it's because this is the same strain of bacteria that actually infected some compromised patients in hospital settings not too long ago. So we do know it has the potential to harm humans right now, or at least, humans who are already compromised in a hospital. So, again, one recurring theme of this show is let's try to keep, the men and women we're sending up there, let's try to keep them safe. And if we have this grand vision of elongated space travel, eventually, on a commercial scale, then this is definitely something we need to get a head start on, because I don't know if you've read The Andromeda Strain, which this is the second week we get to talk about that. That's great. But Michael Crichton predicted it, what's going to potentially really hurt us out in space, besides the laundry list of really dramatic, cataclysmic things, is the things you can't really see.
Great. So now we have to worry about something else.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%.
Awesome stuff.
Space is hard, man.
So, yeah.
And
if I remember correctly, the astronauts on the International Space Station, their immune systems basically sort of weaken when they're up in space, right? So that's not going to be good if you take in pathogens with a weakened immune system.
Exactly.
So.
And also, there's still a lot of research going on in how these different bacterium and microbes, how they even react to microgravity environments. For all we know, they start growing uncontrollably. I'm sure that's not probably what's going to happen, but in my little imagination. Yeah, exactly. So there's still a lot of studies that need to be done. And like I said, they ran it through a computer analysis. Again, 79% probability it could be dangerous or harmful, but they actually still need to test this on living organisms to confirm. So as of now, it's all still pretty a little ambiguous as to what it would mean on a fleshy thing like us.
Okay.
Have they said how they think it got there?
Yeah, so with this type of bacteria, it's pretty common, I believe, and so it could have just been carried on by the astronauts themselves. And it's pretty common here on Earth, and so really it's just a matter of putting it into this environment that could potentially foster pretty adverse reaction.
Right. Are they thinking of maybe upping the quarantine time or sterilization?
In terms of how to mitigate it, they didn't go too far into the methods of mitigation, but I'm sure there's a lot of processes already out there, especially ones that they're still developing.
Right.
Personally, I don't know of them yet, but I have faith that, they're working on it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, something that I do know about is that they had a really bad problem with bacteria and especially fungus growing on the Mir space station, Russia's first multi-module space station. And it got so bad that they had to leave the space station for a while. And there was a whole bunch of other problems that led to a bunch of other things. But based on that experience, we came up with ways to be able to not sterilize, but basically keep the International Space Station clean. So what this tells me is that whatever this particular microbe is something that is different than what they're already trying to clean for and already trying to make sure doesn't start growing and propagating like crazy.
Yeah.
And we do know that lots of different bacteria and stuff like that grows extremely fast in microgravity. That's why it's such a great research area to be able to test out vaccines and all sorts of different medicines on different viruses. So, yeah, I know that they've had a lot of problems with this in the past, and this tells me that this might be something new that whatever systems already exist up there. And I don't know what those systems are. I just do know that they are very careful about making sure that mold and bacteria doesn't grow, especially behind the experiment racks, which is where they found quite a bit of it on the Mir space station. So
yeah. All right. Well, there's a lot of scary stuff in space, so we'll just go with it that way. Now, we are going to take a break, and when we come back from the break, we are going to go to the launch minute, and then we'll get into our interview with Conrad Pierce. But before we go, you ready now, Tana? Sorry about that. We're going to go and thank our escape velocity citizens. These folks give us $10 or more per episode, and we are so thankful that you are on board with us on our Patreon to help fund this show, because without you helping us fund this show, we can't get these amazing stories out. We can't talk about InSight and how it affected us all personally. We can't talk about the upcoming lunar eclipse program that's going to be going on. We can't talk about killer bacteria from outer space and other things like that. So it's your help that allows us to get these stories out and do it in a way that I would say nobody else is really doing it. A little more comfortable than most stiff places are with that. So we're going to take a break real quick and stay tuned, because there will be more tomorrow right after this.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. And nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving, through the heat keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
And we're back, AOS or something like that. So we're going to jump right into the launch minute. Space Mike, it is your time. Batter up.
All right, we had a couple of launches this week. The first one was from India, launching their PSLV rocket in the core alone version. And you might have seen tiny little rockets on the side. Those aren't actually rocket boosters. Those are actually attitude control thrusters. But in any case, this launched from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India, on Thursday, November 29th at 4:27 Coordinated Universal Time. Its payload, as you saw there being deployed, was the HISIS, or the Hyperspectral Imaging Satellite, which is an Earth observation satellite for India. And it's doing stuff like monitoring the agriculture, forestry, coastal zones, and inland waterways. And the data is going to be not only for ISRO, but also for India's defense services. So that might help with disaster mitigation and that type of thing. But also on board were 30 other CubeSats from 8 countries, including one for Australia, one for Canada, one for Colombia, one for Finland, one for Malaysia, the Netherlands, one for Spain, and 23 for the United States. And all of them apparently were deployed successfully. So that's awesome. But next up, we had a launch from Russia with a rare rocket launch of their Rocket vehicle with a Breeze KM upper stage. And this launched from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome in northwest Russia, which means that this was a military launch, so all we get was just a couple of seconds of the actual liftoff itself. This happened on Friday, yesterday, November 30th at 2:27 Coordinated Universal Time, and its payloads were 3 Strela 3M military communications satellites, also known as Rodnik communications satellites. And aside from being able to boost their communications network, what I'm, I guess, excited about, but a little sad about, is that this is the second to last launch ever of a rocket vehicle, with only one more launch planned next year, unless some orders come in or the Russians find another payload for this particular rocket. It's definitely been a great service, and for those of you who may remember, they launched the test articles for Bigelow Aerospace back in the day. Great to see this launch, though. This was great.
All right.
And with that, there was actually also another launch that occurred this week, but it wasn't an orbital launch, but we figured that it was worth talking about anyway. And this was a suborbital test launch from South Korea. This was of their KSLV Mark II, the South Korean launch vehicle number 2, also known as Nuri. It's a 3-stage rocket, or at least eventually it will be. This one was actually just a 1-stage version of what they eventually want to build with the KSLV Mark II. And it's eventually going to have a goal of getting 1,500 kilograms into a low Earth orbit between 600 and 800 kilometers up for around $30 million per launch. And this is a big deal because the first KSLV Mark I, it actually wasn't South Korean at all, except for a solid rocket-built upper stage. It was actually a test of Russia's Angara-1 rockets. And so this vehicle is actually completely built indigenously by the South Koreans, and it's running off of fuel by kerosene and liquid oxygen. And this one, you may notice there, only has one engine on the first stage. And this was just to verify that this engine would work and that the frame for it would actually work. And once they actually build the 3-stage version of this rocket, the first stage is going to be powered by 4 of those engines. And this particular launch took off on November 28th at 7 o'clock Coordinated Universal Time, and it reached a maximum altitude of 209 kilometers, well above the accepted boundary of space. It did not reach orbit, though. This was just a suborbital flight, and hopefully on their next test, they're going to be trying out a second stage of the rocket as well. So congratulations to South Korea for developing their own rocket, and of course they've already developed their own launch pad there, and this is just going to be another small satellite that's going to be able to launch either a bunch of different small satellites at once or even have kind of dedicated missions. They want to start sending their own missions to the moon for scientific purposes as well. So very happy to see the KSLV Mark II, or the Nuri rocket.
Excellent. So what's our launch count looking like so far for the year?
Well, with those 2 orbital launches, right now we have China at 34 launches, the United States at 30, Russia now at 16 launches, with the European Union at 7, India now at 6, and Japan at 6, for a grand total of 99 launches from Earth. And next week is going to be very exciting once we pass that 100 mark, because the missions are just going to be so cool. I can't wait to talk about them.
Yeah, and kind of talking a little bit about some upcoming missions that we have. We are going to get in with our guest that we have been waiting to talk to, and great hearing from you earlier during the show. Conrad Pierce from PicoSat Systems. We're so glad to have you on today.
Thanks, Jared. Happy to be here.
So, sort of to just go ahead and get right off to the gate, what is PicoSat Systems?
Okay, so PicoSat Systems, we're a small satellite solutions company based in Perth in Western Australia. And we started off building picosats. So picosats are a step smaller than nanosats, and that these weigh between, or have a mass of between 100 grams and 1 kilo. The format we're using is a format called Pocket Cube, and with nanosats you have the format of a CubeSat. So we've started out building this because, well, look, it's affordable. It's within our reach. Neither myself nor Stuart McAndrew, who's my business partner in the company, neither of us are rocket scientists or satellite engineers. But the technology here is accessible to everyone, and so we started out with this small format, and we hope to get this into space and then see where it takes us from there.
So immediately from our chat room, Astro YYZ is asking, is that the actual size of that picosat?
That was my question too.
Yes, it is. So a 1-unit Pocket Cube picosatellite pocket cube being the format, is 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. This is the actual. This is a demo version, so you can see the insides there, the technology in there, similar to an Arduino computer. So nothing too fancy, but that's actually it. And this is the completed version of this is what we will launch into space.
And really quick, I have to ask, were you at all inspired by the design of the Allspark from Transformers?
Possibly.
Immaculate, by the way. Beautiful. I'm just smitten.
An unexpected question, to say the
I'm
least.
sorry. I had to get it out there. I felt this was the most appropriate time. I'm so sorry.
That's excellent.
The chat room is definitely asking about the tape measure.
Oh yeah, Space here 1986 is asking about the tape measure. It's just.
So the tape measure is from the local hardware store, and we use it as an antenna. The reason being is that we can actually fold the antenna up.
Brilliant.
And then pop it into the deployer. So when it pops out of the deployer in space, it automatically unfurls. Highly unlikely to fail unfurling. So that's what the tape measure is there for.
Ben in the studio just pointed with a look on his face like this. He was literally like, "Is that flight hardware?" So is that an actual flight-worthy picosat that you have?
Okay, look, this is our demo model, and this is what I walk around with. It's so small, I carry it in my bag all the time and take it into meetings and to schools and show everyone. The flight version is another model that's a twin of this. And that will have a slightly better design as we're learning from this initial version. Mm-hmm. But this is the size.
Wow, very, very cool.
And they will fly with tape measures.
Yes.
Oh. Yes. I love it so much.
So I guess just to kind of talk a little bit about picosats, why are they different from CubeSats? Is there an advantage to having a picosat compared to a CubeSat?
Yeah, so the advantage is that they're smaller, so that the mass is less, which means it costs less to launch into space. And in addition, being smaller means you're spending less on the components as well. So, and the third one is that you're able to build it quicker because there's less components to put together. So those three things put this within the reach of a lot of people that weren't able to put things into space before. So that's what I'd say the advantage of the picosat is today.
Interesting. So from our chat room, Johnny Spacer is asking, what can these be used for? Because they're very, very small, and I would imagine that there's you got to get the instruments really, really tiny to get them in there. So what can these little picosats be used for?
Okay, so this one here is an Earth observation satellite. There's a 2-megapixel camera right there. So this one will just take photos of Australia and send them back down to us on the amateur radio band using these tape antennas. The satellites, you're able to do Earth observation and telecommunications are probably the two main things with these tiny little satellites. And who's our customer for these initially? I would say it's we're speaking to researchers at the moment. So, with researchers and funding being tight, being able to build a space mission for a lower cost is an advantage. The other thing we're looking at is also using this to validate technology. So, do you want to test some of your tech in space before actually launching your main mission? You can pop it into one of these. We also are working on a 3-unit version, which is about that big, so 15 centimeters by 5 by 5. So those are probably the two immediate areas that we're looking at for what we'd actually use these satellites for.
Several people have asked in our chat room about how the picosats will power themselves. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this has solar panels on board. And you can see here we've actually got the solar panels on this side of the demo satellite. On that side, we've just got the the spaces for them. So it's powered by solar panels, and inside will be a rechargeable lithium battery. And we have to be very innovative with how we use the power on board. So the software in there, which is being written, is designed to be really efficient, to power the camera at one point, to power the radio at another point, and to just be smart enough to work out which systems to use. So it's got power, it's rechargeable with solar panels, but we just need to be careful about how we use that power.
Mm-hmm. And to kind of, you got to orient yourself a little bit in order to get that power. So we've had multiple people in our chat room as well wonder, how does that PicoSat orient itself?
Okay, so the first part of your question about making sure we get power, there will be solar panels on 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 sides.
Okay.
The sixth side, the antenna is in the way. Orientation, so because this is our, as we say, the startup world, our minimal viable product, it's the cheapest thing we could build to verify our technology. It's got magnets inside for passive orientation. So the magnets inside here are oriented at such an angle that they interact with the Earth's magnetic field over Australia. So when it actually flies over Australia, it will actually point around it and take photos. So it's a really basic system of orientation for this first version.
So it's using the like the specifics that is known of the magnetic field over Australia to aim it to look down.
Yes.
Oh,
so it's going to be it's going to be plus or minus, a few degrees off axis when it's pointing downwards. But look, it's what we could fit into that little box.
Wow, that's amazing. So
yeah, go ahead, Mike. Well,
nope.
Looks like your audio's out, Mike.
Looks like Mike's audio's out. So he said, all right, yeah, we got it, Mike.
I'll just go ahead.
We'll go ahead and do it for you.
So it already sounds like, these are pretty, you've thought of a whole lot when it comes to the success of these satellites, but what are some of the unique challenges your company faces specifically, whether technical or commercial?
I think there are a number of challenges we face. Firstly, in Australia, the space industry is growing. We've just had a space agency start on the 1st of July, so that's a good thing. The space industry in Australia is growing, and as it grows, there'll be more and more opportunities for us to make use of both here in Australia and internationally through international agreements that the agency is working on. Technically, because of the size, we're working on designing, I guess, really small componentry. So like we're building a very small power system to a custom system inside here to manage that power that I mentioned about earlier. And then I guess the last challenge is what all startups face, which is getting that first customer. And that's what we're working on at the moment. And I'd say probably that's one of the bigger challenges, but I think we'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Space Mike, you want to try?
Let me try this again. You guys hear me okay?
We can. Go for it, Mike.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Can hear you
My
now.
question was, are you going to be selling these PicoSats as kits? And if so, how much could universities or interested parties potentially buy one for?
So that's a really great question. It's something I hadn't touched on before. There's an educational aspect to this as well, right? So besides us providing a satellite solution, it's also possible to provide these to universities or potentially even schools. The cost, we're still working on that at the moment as we finalize the engineering design of this. But it's definitely going to be cheaper than a 1-unit CubeSat, both in cost of building and in cost of launch. So I think if you look at a 1-unit CubeSat, just to give a rough figure, I think maybe you're looking at around maybe $300,000 to build and launch into space. With a 1-unit PicoSat or Pocket Cube, maybe $80,000 potentially. So don't quote me on those figures, but it's an order of magnitude smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a question. So I'm a researcher, pretend, and and I want to put your satellite into orbit. So what would my process be from as your customer? So
we can. Sorry, go ahead. You were going to say?
Oh, I just so would you assist with also kind of leading them toward the launcher as well, or is your company just the little just the picosat?
No, we do the whole thing. So we're speaking to launch providers at the moment and launch integrators as to how we can get these into space. So there are slots available, and we'll do all of that for you. So, we'll do the whole. We'll try to do as much of the satellite life cycle as we can.
Okay.
For the customer.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
And Mike, you had a question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, how much of this is going to be off-the-shelf parts, and how much of it are you guys developing in-house? And that kind of brings me into the whole legality of this. And are there going to be any restrictions, like someone inside the United States being able to do this, or is this going to be open source, publicly available information, and there won't necessarily be anything that would be restricted, like by ITAR or EAR?
So it's a combination of what you've mentioned there. Some of the software inside there is open source, and some of it is proprietary that we're working on specifically to run some of the systems that we're building ourselves. Hardware-wise, a lot of it is off the shelf. With this model here, the circuit boards are what we have designed and manufactured, but everything else we've just bought off the shelf. As we build more complex pico satellites, I think we'd probably build a little bit more proprietary equipment there. So far, with this one, we haven't had to worry about ITAR yet, but I'm still in the process of looking at all of the legal side of things with launching into space.
So I just kind of want to ask, because a lot of people in our chat room are asking basically about space debris and mitigation of space debris. Some people are asking, what do you say to people that are going to say, oh no, more space debris from picosats being deployed? Also, are you okay with them being in higher orbits as opposed to lower orbits? And then if you are going to deorbit your picosats, how do you go about doing deorbiting?
Okay. So firstly, we're only going to launch these for a specific purpose, so we don't want to add to the space debris problem up there. With how long they stay up in orbit, now these are only going to go into low Earth orbit, which is 300 to 600 kilometers, and so with the Earth atmosphere, up there, drag will bring these down anywhere from 1 year to a few years, or maybe even 10 years. What we will do with this, cool, the picture here. What we will do is on the antenna for this model particularly, we will put some Kapton tape on the antenna to basically increase the surface area of the satellite as it moves. And that will bring the satellite down much quicker. So we definitely have space debris in mind, and we're definitely not going to add to it. And we will, we will abide by the various, I guess, things that are being discussed about it today.
Yeah, and I mean, it just seems like there's no company right now that's like eschewing the idea of being good stewards of low Earth orbit and keeping it as clean as possible. So. Yeah.
Yeah. What's actually interesting here in Australia, I mentioned we have a new space agency. They're also, the federal government's also updating our Space Activities Act, which governs how entrepreneurs and use space here in Australia. And they actually are looking at, within that act, there are some clauses around space debris, which are meant to keep orbit clear, but also encourage entrepreneurship as well in space. So I think it's a good balance.
So a question from the chat room from Frida is asking, what kind of sensors, besides a camera, are possible for the picosat? Do you have any ideas as to what people would want to put in those picosats?
Yes, so besides the visible light camera, you can do multispectral sensors. That picture that's up there is just from the 2-megapixel camera from a high-altitude balloon test that we did a few weeks ago. So that image is taken from about 16 kilometers up, looking down, and that's countryside in Australia on the east coast. And that's the balloon launch with the little payload at the bottom there. We were one of a number of payloads in that box. There we go. That's the little foam box which had all the various companies' payloads in there. So besides visible light, you're also looking at multispectral and as a payload or as a sensor. And we actually, at one point, did look at looking for minerals from space using very basic infrared sensors to detect specific frequencies of minerals on the ground. So that's, again, an example of a really basic sensor that could fit into something as small as this that may have some science capability. And you've also got telecommunications. So we can use this to transmit data as well. That picture there, what you're seeing is, so we've been testing our technology, and about a year ago, we partnered with ICRA, which is the International Centre for Radio Astronomy Research. Now, they're the people that are building the square kilometre array radio telescope here in Australia. And we did a zero-gravity flight with them, and that's the zero-gravity flight plane behind there in Europe. And we actually tested some of our deployment technology. That's the ICRA researcher that kindly tested the technology for us. And so we built basically a handheld deployer to simulate what would be on the rocket. And then we actually had the satellite deploy from that handheld deployer, and we've got some video as well. I'm not sure if you guys have that there today, but it is on our website. Here we go.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Look at that. It pops right out, and it's flying. Look, it's flapping its little wings. That is so cool to see that. Look at that.
It's like Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. Look at it. It's just
perfect.
It's excellent. And just showing off that the ability of the tape measure to just pop right out of that there. So.
Yeah, we had comparisons to that game Angry Birds, but it wasn't.
So I just kind of want to ask a question, because there's a lot of standardization for CubeSats and deployment of them. Do these picosats, is it like plug and play with the type of deployment systems that you have for CubeSats right now, or do you have to have something specialized that you're developing for that?
The format has come together over the last, say, 5-6 years, and it's standardized the pocket cube format of these picosats. So we're working towards that format, and what that means is if we don't use our own deployer, we'll also be able to use someone else's picosat deployer or pocket cube deployer. So yes, there are standards around this pocket cube format for the picosat satellites.
I just kind of want to ask, what are some of the big challenges that your company has had to go through? Because I cannot imagine that starting a satellite company is easy. And I kind of also want to add to that, you're on the ground, you're at the very beginning of your own country's space agency. That would be like being here in the United States in the mid-50s and getting ready to start with that. I can't even imagine how exciting that's got to be to do that. So, what are those really big challenges, and what do you specifically want to make an impact on with your company in your new space agency in Australia?
Okay, so look, there are a lot of challenges. We were speaking to a CEO of a bigger space company in the US about a year ago, and he said to us, guys, you're in the wrong place to do what you're doing. So, look, he wasn't entirely wrong, but what's happening here is that, things are changing here in Australia. Now, on the east coast of Australia, there's a slightly more vigorous space industry. Here in Western Australia, on the west coast, it's just starting. So, as you mentioned, we're literally at the start, and the community, the space industry here in Western Australia is coming together. And I guess the challenge we had was, say, when we started a year or so ago, is that it may have seemed that we were alone, but really now with this community coming together, the industry coming together with the space agency around, there's more support, potential support there. So that's addressing, I guess, one challenge of trying to go it alone. The other challenge is funding. So we're looking for funding to launch this tech demonstrator into space, but also then to build whatever system that we are going to build for our customers. And funding is a big challenge. So you've got to be really on the ball when it comes to the problem you're solving and the business model associated with the solution that we build for that problem. So that's I'd say is a big challenge. What are we hoping to do? I guess I'm really excited that here in Western Australia, in Perth, as the space industry is growing, we're sort of here at the start. So we have the ability to help grow the Western Australian space industry and in turn the Australian space industry, and become part, I guess a player in the global space industry. So I'm quite excited about actually, playing my part there. So that's probably the most exciting thing. And then, the potential opportunities that will come out of all of this is pretty amazing. So that's probably what excites me quite a bit.
So what's next for you and your company? Is it primarily funding, or have you got something else planned for us that we're going to find out about?
Yes, we've got a lot of things planned, but they're secret, so stay tuned, right?
Of course.
Look, right now, as I mentioned, I'm in Western Australia, here in Perth, in Western Australia. Perth's the capital city of the state, and the resources sector is a huge part of the Western Australian economy. So we're actually having a look at the resources sector to see what problems there are there and what we can address. So we're working on one or two ideas and business models, and starting to pitch those around the place, and hopefully something will come of that. So that's probably the next thing we're working on. The other thing is the three unit version of this is what we're working on as well. So we have a design, but we haven't actually built that yet. And then finally, I guess the last thing is actually getting this into space. So we're hoping to get this into space maybe later next year, or now that we're into this year, I guess maybe 2020. But it is dependent on funding. So I guess that's the third thing that we're doing. So there's a few things. I'd say definitely stay tuned. But space is hard, so we're working as best as we can to achieve what we would like to achieve.
So for our community, those who are watching live right now and those who may be watching on demand, is there any way that our community can contribute to you? Are you guys hiring? Like, what do you need now with that we as the viewers of tomorrow, or the community of tomorrow at large, can actually help out with you?
Well, look, we need money, so send your money. But look, besides funding, I guess what I really do like about the working in the space industry, and I've worked in many other industries and now moved into space. Finally, I get to play in an industry that's always been a passion of mine from when I was a kid. What I really like about the space industry is that it's that community that's there, and everyone is there to help each other. People that we speak to, always provide advice or provide us leads or the like, and we try to do the same. So I would say, for anyone out there, if you've got an idea or if you've got a potential lead, get in touch and let's see where it takes us. It could be mutually beneficial for both of us, right? So I guess that would be the message.
And our own Lisa in the studio is asking, why space? Like, why space?
Why are you doing this?
Why space? Look, for me, as far, when I think back to when I was a child, probably my memories go back to about 3 years old. I love space for whatever reason. I think maybe my dad was into it as well. So for me, it's just a childhood passion. And I know for my business partner, Stuart, I think it's something similar as well. He's always been interested in space. And much like the internet world from the 90s to where we are today has really advanced and given the ordinary person the opportunity to do stuff online, from starting your own company up to writing an app. Space is the same thing is happening in space today. So for two co-founders who had a passion for space, the fact that it's now within our reach is really exciting. So I guess why space? Because we can, I guess. It's probably the answer.
Yeah, that's a good reason to do it.
Because we can.
Yeah, because it is there. So exactly. So Conrad, if people would like to get more information about picosat systems, where can they go to for that?
Okay, so our website is picosat.systems. So the http ://picosat.systems. You can also find us on LinkedIn, and you can also find me on LinkedIn as well. So Conrad Pierce. So those three ways you're able to contact us.
All right. Well, Conrad Pierce from Picosat Systems, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure talking with you about little itty-bitty satellites.
Fantastic. Look, thank you very much. I really appreciated the opportunity, and it was worth staying up till 2 a.m. in the morning for all of you. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Excellent. So before we go to break, though, we do want to thank our citizens of tomorrow, starting with our Escape Velocity citizens. You folks get a lot of cool stuff. So thank you so much to those of you who give us $10 or more per episode. But of course, we have our Orbital citizens as well. You give us $5 or more per episode. And again, just like we talked about earlier, you're making the show happen. Without you, we can't do this. And also, don't forget, there's different ways that you can actually help us out here at Tomorrow. It's not necessarily going to our Patreon at patreon.com/TMRO. You can subscribe. You can hit the bell wherever it is. It's somewhere up there.
I'm going to poke someone's eye out, Jared.
Yeah, sorry. And you can get notifications, share something if you like it. Also, you can go to community.tmro.tv, our own forum for the community of tomorrow, and suggest a way that you might be able to help us out. So it's not necessarily something that's a financial help. If you can code, if you can organize, if you can cook, we'll be happy to have you here at the studio to make some nice snacks. So we are going to take a break, and when we come back, your comments from last week's show. So stay tuned. There's more tomorrow right after this.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. And nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving. Through the heat, keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
And because Ben is sitting there, AOS. Welcome back to the show. So let's go right into your comments from last week's show, because we talked about, what did we talk about last week?
Oh,
Talked about
what
something
did
else,
we
right?
talk about? It was a lot of Mars. We had
Yeah.
Jezero Crater because Mars 2020's landing site was picked, and Jade was talking about all of the water just flooding.
Just gushing
Mars
out.
goo.
Goodness.
Mars mud.
Yeah.
Also, Mike, you talked about a 3D bioprinter up to the space station, printing out a liver or a kidney if you need it. And also, I talked about exoplanets and their tools for discovery. So Capcom for this week let's go ahead and head on in and let's get that first one up and running.
Absolutely. So the first comment we're going to go into is from The Moon is Square, and this comment is from YouTube, I believe.
Yeah.
And it says, but why not land the bloody sky crane and call it Insight 2? It gets to within meters of the surface in a hover, and then they just throw it away. So frustrating. And I only yelled it because it's all in caps. I'm not that aggressive.
It is part of a larger rant, and I do love the rant comments, so I keep them coming.
It is a great rant comment, but it's also something that really brings up the idea of the fact that you're increasing the mass of the sky crane if you're landing it, and you're already kind of right at the limit of what it was. The sky crane that landed Curiosity, it had enough fuel as it landed, but it had to use all of that fuel in order to get it away from Curiosity. Because one, you don't want to have your sky crane accidentally land on Curiosity, and two, you actually don't want your sky crane to land anywhere near Curiosity, because if it does, the metals and the propellants on board could contaminate the area around it, and you could actually end up contaminating the instruments on the rover as well. So that's why they flew it away and did it. Also, more mass, which means more money, which means you have to ask for more funding, which is very difficult to do that. Also, operating 2 spacecraft at the same time that are doing entry. More mass, more money. I'm sensing a theme here, so yeah, it's a little difficult in order to do that. So yeah, very tough, frustrating, but that's just the way it is. Physics says no. So
Physics says
for now.
no.
For now, yes, for now.
Can't
So-
get
now.
big physics.
All right, next comment.
All right, so this actually comes straight out of our community, which is community.tmro.tv. This is from Streetwind or Streetwind. And regarding the exoplanet imaging discussion, could the James Webb Space Telescope's data output be used for interferometry with large ground-based telescopes, assuming they cover the same frequency range? Or would they have to be linked at runtime, which, given one is a spacecraft, is pretty much impossible? But just imagine the kind of virtual resolution you could get when combining two ultra-high precision instruments across the distance of up to 1.5 million kilometers.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you could. You very well could make a big old interferometer. There's actually some ideas that the SOFIA telescope, which is the infrared telescope that flies in the back of a 747 up to 50,000 feet, which is a large number of kilometers, or several kilometers. I can't think of how to do it in my head, and I also don't have the Google conversion in front of me, Ben. Yeah, you could do it that way. There are going to be some upcoming infrared telescopes. It's not necessarily just James Webb. The European Space Agency is going to be flying their Euclid infrared telescope in 2021. That's primarily going to be looking for dark matter, but nothing says that you can't take the data from that and do a similar observation at the same time as with James Webb. So,
there you go.
Yeah, big old honking interferometer. Although
big old.
You're either going to use SOFIA or you're going to use another infrared telescope in space, because infrared does not get through the Earth's atmosphere very easily. So there you go.
Good point.
So.
All right, so moving on. Good one, by the way. This one is from Rabindra Mishra from YouTube, and they state, it shouldn't be Mars or Venus. It should be both. If Earthlings can set politics aside and pool resources, there's no reason we can't have initial habitats in orbit, in cloud, or ground, or underground, depending on the world. And then full-fledged, self-dependent colonies on Luna, Venus, Mars, Ceres, Europa, Ganymede, Callisto, Titan, Enceladus, Triton, Pluto, and Eris. Factor in a different strategy for worlds with potential life, but let's go already. I love that optimism.
Go already.
Yes, I love
that
this.
clarity.
But I definitely want to say we probably need to pick one. So what one is going first? We'll hopefully get to all of these, Titan, Enceladus, Triton, Pluto, and Eris, period. But first we have to pick one. So we have to work out the technology to get us to all the rest of them. So that's what kind of the discussion is about.
Yeah, very, very cool. I've always been of the opinion, we used to ask everybody which one, Moon or Mars first, and then my answer always to that is space. So just go. Get out there and do something.
Get out of here. Go up there.
Although I am partial to sort of a Gerard K. O'Neill's idea of space, which is that everybody comes along and that we all live in really big, cool space colonies together out in free space. So let's do our final one that we have here.
Our final comment,
Yes.
absolutely. So, from FPV Reviews on YouTube, guessing that the Mars helicopter will see its greatest use in hovering over the solar panels of a future rover, blowing the dust off and saving the mission. Opportunity, wishing it had a helicopter right now. Beep, beep, beep.
Maybe there was a helicopter with opportunity, and that's how it's been able to clear its solar panels all this time. Man, it hasn't been some sort of conspiracy. It's been a little Mars helicopter the whole time. But no, seriously, like after they do a little demonstration with that little Mars copter, it makes me wonder if they could potentially use it or if it would even be able to work that way.
Yeah, from what I understand of Martian regolith, it is both statically charged and magnetized. So you're going to have a potent little helicopter to do it. But I think with the amount of lift that the Mars 2020 Scout helicopter is going to have, it should be able to blow off some solar panels. But also, we've gotten a lot better with solar panels than we did in the early aughts of the early 2000s. I don't know if you saw, but InSight just set the record for the amount of energy generated at the surface of Mars. I think it was something like 4,200 watts of power.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah, that's like 3 times what Curiosity does with its RTG hot butt, electricity coming out of it. So
I caught that.
Ben is so mad at me.
I didn't catch it.
That's a lot of
Curiosity?
Nice. That's a lot of power.
Sorry, I cracked myself up.
right.
I'm the Punisher.
All right, and because of that, and because on that pun, we're going to thank all of our citizens of tomorrow. I've rolled my eyes so hard I'm looking out my back. Anyways, these are our escape velocity citizens.
They say hindsight is the best.
Oh my gosh! Sarah, stop!
Thank you so much to each and every one of you folks. You guys are enabling us to be able to do this show. It gets us pretty emotional talking about it, but we would not be able to be here. We would not be able to be laughing and having fun talking about all this space nerdery without you guys. So thank you to the Escape Velocity. Thank you to the Orbital Velocity. Thank you to our suborbital citizens. And thank you very much to our ground support citizens. Thank you to the entire community of tomorrow. Without you guys, this community wouldn't be here. We wouldn't even be talking about all this stuff and be able to do this every Saturday. So thank you so much for everything that you guys do. And thank you to just the entire community, liking our videos, sharing these videos with your friends, giving us cool ideas and topics to discuss. You know, if you guys watching aren't already, you need to get into our Discord channel, and there's so many interesting conversations that happen all the time. Yeah. And just, I love this community. It's one of the few places on the internet where internet comments don't devolve into the usual barbarism that they normally do. I mean, just everyone is so friendly. Everyone is willing to actually debate ideas and not just go right into insults. I mean, you're the best community on the internet. I love you guys, and thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, debating the idea, not the person, is one of the rules of tomorrow. I believe it's rule number 3, if I remember correctly, of the 5 rules that we have.
5 rules.
4 rules.
5 rules.
So yeah,
5 rules.
We'll work with that. Hey, what do we got?
Yeah, don't forget.
What do we got for next week? Who's coming on next week?
Well, it looks like Professor Dante Loretta, right? He was the chief science advisor for Extonaut.Space games and education programs. Also, the principal investigator of the OSIRIS-REx mission.
Holy smokes!
All sorts of neat stuff in there.
Not only is that my favorite mission backronym ever, but also OSIRIS-REx is on approach to Bennu, the asteroid that it's going to both orbit around and then go grab a sample of and bring back. So that's some good timing, because it's gonna go into orbit.
That's happening soon.
This week?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! All right, so I'm very excited about that. So tune in next week. We'll talk a little bit about going around asteroids. So, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. I can't
even Bennu
anything for that. So, I'm not in the beta. That's what's up.
Yeah,
so.
don't go to the beta.
Now it's Perfect.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow, Ben.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'm getting myself a chair. I'm inserting myself into the conversation like I normally do. There we go. Look at that.
I want a chair.
Just be gentle.
Well, we have a chair. Hang on.
So it's Saturday.
Welcome to Saturday of tomorrow.
Wait, hang on. Not only do you get a chair, look at this. Look at this.
There's a chair for Lisa. Oh,
I'm gonna hang on. You can go ahead and move me over towards Jared if you want.
Yeah, that would help. You're hanging on.
Sure.
Yeah, hang on.
Careful. Watch out. My drink's there.
Whoa, careful. Whoa, other way. Whoa.
Do you say cheerful?
Chair. Oh, you are on a roll.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow, there's a lot of bourbon in this.
Where's the soda bar?
Oh, sorry,
How do you
Mike.
spell that?
I just elbowed you.
All right, it's all right. My digital pain receptors are set at 0 right now, so you can, you can slap my face right now if you want to, and I won't feel it. It's all good.
Awkward.
Kinky.
Yeah. Jade, unplug your mic.
Jade, make sure you're off. As we listen for the sound of pee.
Dutta has control as well. Set decoration 101. So, as you can see, so first off, for those who are citizens of tomorrow, I am planning a citizen hangout on, I think it is Sunday the 9th? Yep, Sunday the 9th, at 1800 UTC. So kind of the
January?
same...
No,
Of December.
Oh, okay.
So...
Like 8 days from now.
Yep,
Gotcha.
about a week, just a pinch over a week from now. And just kind of, the idea is to kind of go over, you've seen a lot of show format changes recently, kind of what's working, what's not working, some of the ideas for the future, what we're planning, stuff like that. We haven't had a hangout for a little while. It's very casual. It might literally just be myself carrying on. You're all welcome to show up. You're not required to show up, whatever you want to do.
I might hologram in.
That would be interesting. So yeah, and it's just going to be a little bit like an After Dark a show itself. Also, for citizens, we tried something new this week. We tried you've got your own special link to the show. It starts a little bit earlier than the regular public show, so you actually get to see us do our pre-show meeting. So things like us working on the rundown. Tawicked was having a hissy fit talking about the timing for the guest. Actually, all of that was covered in pre-show, talking about how we were pruning out stuff from the show to reorder things to make it a little bit better for the guest, coordinating with the guest to make sure that they understood how much time was going to be in each segment and stuff like that. So that actually is all coordinated in advance with our guest. You actually get to see that process for the citizens. So I do appreciate that you're working out for the guest, but we've already taken care of all of that well in advance. Like they know, like we know what time they've come on. They know what time things are. They even knew the news stories we were going to be talking about. Offered to have them in news or not in news. That was actually his choice. But it was the first time we've ever done that. We kind of warned a little bit about that. It didn't quite work like I wanted.
I think it's because they're remote.
Yeah.
In person, it would be very different.
It would be very different in person. I don't disagree. I'd like to figure out how to make it work remote. That's not to say that we can figure that out.
Subspace communications?
Exactly. I mean, latency is one thing, but like, I think if we play with that format a little bit, we might be able to figure that out. I don't know. But Jared, there was a moment where you tied the current insight into the interview itself. That was a really cool moment in the show. I like that a lot. We just need to find more ways to do that. I gave you a thumbs up, not because you were good on time or anything, because I loved that moment. I thought that was really great. I liked that he was interacting. I thought that was pretty cool. I also liked that everyone on the set was interacting with our guest. I thought that was more fun than just a one-on-one. I thought that felt a little bit better. But we need more of that interaction, I think. Now you're getting a little hint of the post-show meeting. The post-show meetings we will not broadcast live because it's a lot of me saying mean things. And so,
Johnny Spacer also says it was 2 a.m.
He yells at us
So,
and curses
Yeah.
at us and calls us names. It's horrible. You don't want to see that.
Right?
It's so really emotional.
so mean.
Hide the bruises.
It was 2 a.m. for our guests as well, and we do try to be respectful of their time and blah blah blah. But at the same time, it's no different than like if you're going on a major television network. As a guest, you're sitting there waiting for way longer than you're on our show. You're sitting there for half a day to a whole day, just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. We are way more respectful of our guests' times than any traditional broadcast television show. So
Loopy Dragon says mean credible.
mean, credible.
The tapes of the beatings will never be released.
And they will continue until morale improves.
That's like $100 per episode Patreon, though.
No. We need a moment where we can just
Can
kind
I
of.
get the beta chat? Can I just see the address for it? Because it's not popping
You don't
up
need
in here.
beta. You don't need beta.
But I wanna see everybody.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you this, chat room. So we had a what I'm going to refer to as a catastrophic malfunction of our chat room this morning, which made it impossible for the hosts to, like, you'll notice none of the chats made it up on screen. Essentially, nothing was working. So, how upset would you be? And really think this through. You don't actually have to answer right now. Feel free to add it into community wherever you want. If I move us purely to YouTube chat, so I would embed the YouTube chat room next to the video, next to the YouTube thing. There are a couple of advantages to this. First, YouTube will archive the chat. So if we can get through the show from start to finish, I can just trim the head and tail, and then you will actually have the show available to you with the integrated chat room right there. How upset would you be if we did that instead of the IRC chat room? And I basically focus everything on YouTube, and we move away from Twitch. We kind of move away from the other platforms. We go, this is where we're broadcasting from.
I feel like we need to spend more time on Twitch.
Yeah, but we just don't have a huge
Twitch following, because do we spend much time on Twitch as in from an analytics and promo standpoint?
the chat room is very against this idea.
Yep.
Yes.
Too Wicked said, I overcomplicate the chat room interaction mechanisms and I kill it because it failed once. Did not fail once or twice or thrice or even 4 or 5 or 6 times. It's a recurring thing that happens week after week. We try to hide it from you guys as best we can, but this has been a recurring issue. So the vision was to have everything kind of linked together and work together. And then there was kind of hey, this vision's too big, so let's open this up. Let's put the code into a base where we can have multiple developers working on it. Things just are not progressing at a rate. Look, the chat is integral to the show. It is important to me that we're able to communicate with you in real time, and if that's not stable, then that has a very negative impact on the show. So I just can't have that. So I have to fix that. At the end of the day, that's what I need to do. It doesn't have to be YouTube chat. That was just one thing I was throwing out there. We have other things that we can do, but I was just curious. So I have my answer. It was a hard no from the chat room.
Well, it's sort of softening a bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the initial no end of Star Wars 3 has kind of drowned down.
End of Star Wars
Now
3.
it's more like a,
Yeah, it's like, I would. Like a gamer YouTube, gamingyoutube.com is fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, Loopy Dragon has a really good point about doing Twitch, which is that if we do Twitch, then we have to ditch every platform and concentrate on Twitch. So that's how it
That's
operates.
not entirely true. So that only applies because we're on Twitch right now.
Yes.
That's only if we become a full Twitch partner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But Twitch.
Now I know.
Yeah, so I like the idea of doing Twitch over. I missed what the comment actually said. Twitch has an
Exclusively cost.
well, only if you're a partner. We kind of went really far down that avenue. Blah blah blah. All right. I have the data I needed.
And Ben has made it so.
Also, we have science today, if you weren't aware.
Oh,
Also,
yeah.
I don't have a microphone, so I'm just going to talk really loud.
Oh, hang on. What can we do? I don't know if Athena's.
I can hear her, no problem.
Yeah, but
I can hear her, no problem.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm still doing this anyhow.
In stereo.
I don't think it will work.
No, it doesn't have
work
the
anymore.
recharger
I just have
thing.
to hold it. Hi. What was I saying? Oh, we have a science show. I get so easily distracted. We have a science show today. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk about the science of Pluto, as in like the geology and the chemistry,
yes.
and the atmosphere.
We're very
and
excited.
What we learned and what the most amazing discoveries are, and yeah, it's going to be great. We're talking to Kirby Runyon, who is a PhD postdoc at
In studio.
In Studio.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the first Science in Studio guest of the
Yeah.
year. Also, we did a whole year of science. Holy crap!
oh my Lanta.
Woo!
Yay!
That's a
I'm
year.
excited. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh. It's been a year.
What?
It has been a year for sure.
Yeah.
This has
Anyways.
been a year.
Yeah. And 2019,
so
guys,
fast.
gonna be even better. Just saying. It's not saying. Just saying.
Yeah. We got some cool stuff planned for 2019.
Is that what we're going to
Elon
talk
Musk
about in
says
the
he can
hangout?
hear you through my mic. Here, let me get a little closer.
Oh, wouldn't that be neat?
Excited for
Oh
next year.
man.
Yeah.
Depod Dolphin says, get Brian Cox in for next year.
Oh, I
That'd be
think I know
fun.
that guy.
Yeah, if you know
Professor
him,
Brian
send him our way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring in a keyboard.
I highly believe he's some sort of vampire that is able to go out in the daytime because the man's not aged in decades.
Yeah.
You look at him and it's like, how old are you?
Space melons.
You know.
Maybe he just uses science.
Oh no, wait! I was thinking of
Or
Brian
SPF.
Schmidt. My bad. Wrong Brian.
Oh man. So yeah, on the TMRO.TV/live, we're just rehosting the YouTube there, right?
That's
where
correct.
it's been for a
yeah,
long
look,
time.
let me be clear. We're not moving. Actually, Wicked had a interesting point, which is, there are like 20 people on Twitch and 300 on YouTube. We're not moving away from YouTube. Like, Twitch just doesn't have the user base. The platform's not as stable. The platform's not as good. It's the cold, harsh reality of it. The only thing I really like about
And I
it,
mean, honestly, what is Twitch known for?
gaming.
Gaming.
Yeah.
And we're not a gaming
And
channel,
ASMR.
so
Sure. It does at this juncture, it does not make sense for us to move to Twitch. It makes sense for us to stay on YouTube. So the question isn't, are we going to move off of YouTube from a video standpoint? That's not in the cards. That's not on the table. The question is, what does the chat become? So it's not, do we move off of YouTube? It's, do we move off of the other platforms and stick only with YouTube and really just focus on YouTube? Focus on YouTube chat, focus on YouTube as a platform itself, and drive all of our people there. The idea originally was, and this may have been misinformed, but look, maybe you're going to be on Twitch, maybe you're going to be on YouTube, maybe you'll be on Twitter. However you want to find us, that's cool. We don't care where you find us. We still want to have a conversation with you. We want to get you excited about space. And that sounds cool and neat. The flip side of that is, now what we've done is we've spread our user base out, and instead of having 300 people on YouTube, or I'm sorry, instead of having like 500 people on YouTube, we have 300 people on YouTube. So the algorithm thinks we're a little bit smaller than we actually are. So none of the sites actually promote as much as we would if one site was focused and we were bigger on that one site. So there is advantage to focusing just on one and to focusing on Twitch over YouTube, in my opinion, does not make sense because that's not where the user base is. We should go to where the people are, and that's YouTube, not Twitch. At least in our community. Like, if we were doing gaming, if we were doing Kerbal, different story.
Mm-hmm. And we say all the YouTube things in our lingo too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so that you're notified. That's all YouTube-y stuff. We're used to that, but that can change, of course. But I mean, it just seems, to me, it seems like the smarter thing to keep things kind of within YouTube, and YouTube is the focus.
Twitch are doing a push for educational content, so yeah, like Loopy says. There we go. They're doing like a push for educational stuff, and so maybe if we can jump on that wave, it might strategically be nice to partner there, but we'll see.
Yeah, but that's only
provided they don't require exclusivity.
Right.
Yeah, and they do also, and assuming that it sticks, right? Just because they're doing this promotional thing doesn't mean that they're actually going to continue doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Also, so is YouTube.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Oh, man.
I just pick one. And if I had to pick one, I'd pick YouTube, frankly.
I want to do all of them.
Yes, but that's
You know
not
what?
working.
Screw it all. We're going to Vimeo. Just kidding.
Well,
Oh,
maybe.
God. Video.
Oh man.
Nope. I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
Silence.
Yep. Killed that conversation. You're welcome, Internet.
I don't have anything to add to that. So.
The science starts in about an hour. Yeah. So, anything else? Anything fun in the show? Yeah, I do love that Jared can even tap loud.
Yep.
Whatever device he
So
gives you.
impressive.
It's not my fault.
He's got strong hands.
Just don't make. They're powerful, so just
Powerful.
Just be careful.
Twitch is owned by Amazon?
Yes, it is.
I did not know that.
That's actually one of the things I like, because if you're supporting Twitch in a very roundabout way,
Yeah, right.
you're supporting Blue Origin. But by the way, you got to go around a few things to get there.
Yeah, you do.
It's not a straight line.
More orbital trajectory.
Kyle from Because Science is a recurring guest on me.
Oh.
We should get Kyle on.
Oh my gosh.
Like a guest host. That'd be cool.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Bogon, why isn't tomorrow a podcast? It is. We are on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on find one. Just search for TMRO and you'll see an audio-only edition. I feel like this format fits really well in a podcast thing. You can listen to it in your car. So, yeah.
Especially now.
Is it a
this
19
is what we're doing now is such a podcast format.
Yep.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to make our own like tomorrow lore. With like, I don't know, maybe someone died trying to like feed the fish. And
Are you trying to create a sector keeper?
I am the sector keeper of tomorrow.
So, did we talk about this on the air yet? I don't remember.
think we have.
So there's a podcast that I listen to called Podcast The Ride, and they did an extremely necessary 19-part series about why is Sarah what? Do you know Podcast The Ride?
Oh, you forgot. Okay, cool. Never mind.
Oh, did I forget? What did I forget?
That you made it my homework to
Oh,
watch the first
did you?
part. I have not yet, so I was hiding from teacher.
I feel like that worked not in your favor.
No, but I think it's hilarious.
If you had just barreled through that, I would have continued to have forgotten.
Yeah, but this is way more fun.
Oh my God, closing the show in puns was amazing. That was fun. That is actually what I want. I want laughing and fun and excitement during the show. And for those, watching, the idea is all of us are space nerds, right? So, and we go out and we share space nerdery moments with our friends. We're around a table, we're having beer, and we're just like, we're excited. After the shows when Dave Maston is on, we almost always go to some brewery.
Can we have beer here?
Sure, why not? We go to some.
With this crowd, my response is always, "Shut up, Space Mike."
Well, I mean, what do you think's in this?
So, you go out, you're with your friends, you're excited after an insight landing, you're having a
Vodka
beer,
minus
you're having
the
that
other one.
conversation. That's the conversation I want to have here.
Potato juice?
Water.
Potato juice.
Well, vodka minus the
Potato.
ethanol.
Oh, potato juice,
Is
yes.
water.
Fermented potatoes.
Potatoes.
Now I want to create a vodka called potato juice. I feel like that would be amazing.
That would be cool.
Nasty ass potato juice.
Tomorrow's line of spirits.
The space nerd of the space nerds.
Well,
Captain Space Nerd. For sure.
There is rocket vodka.
We should talk the wavelength.
So, oh wait, no, that was torpedo
Have
juice.
our own beer.
We could have an event here, and Wavelength could come and serve beer.
We
and
should have our own beer at Wavelength. I like that. The beer of tomorrow.
TomorrowCon 2019.
That would be awesome.
Just throwing that out there. So
I thought about
That
wait,
would be
wait,
awesome.
Can the beer be made from like hops that go to space?
Space
that would
hops.
only be very expensive.
That's very expensive, but yes.
$40
yes, it
a
could.
pint.
If you buy
Even
that
more
shit.
expensive than pooped out
We
coffee.
know someone that does.
Actually, at this point, you could only get hops that are like a descendant of the hops that flew in space, unless they do another mission to send up
So it's
more.
like my
because
grandpa went to
they
space,
use it
but
all up,
not
yeah.
me.
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure if we do send hops to space and it comes back, will the beer be NOAA compliant?
Lord.
Ah, Noah.
That was the thing. I was looking at that Pico set. I'm like, oh man, tomorrow could put a satellite up and we could do like live launch coverage of rocket launches. Maybe not a Pico set, but it gave me the idea. Live launch coverage of over the launch site, and then I was like, actually, no, we can't. NOAA won't allow it. Well, NOAA won't allow it without a license, more specifically, because we're a U.S.-based company. And even though the PicoSat company is in Australia, I am a U.S. citizen, and I am under the purview of NOAA. So I think that is stupid.
Sucks that you're a U.S. citizen. If any
Noah.
people that weren't U.S. citizens.
Yeah, except that tomorrow can't do it.
Can there be a tomorrow Australian edition?
Doesn't matter. It would still be that's not unfortunately how it works. You can't get around it that way.
Is there a different NOAA? Because I'm only thinking of Oceanographic.
No, that's exactly the one.
Why not?
It's the
Are
dumb.
they? What?
They shouldn't be. So
That's the one we're talking about.
this is
Okay, so I don't know this backstory then.
So what happens is NOAA, for reasons that I do not understand, started enforcing a rule that they've had for a really long time, and then taking it. It's like the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. So they're all for non-government launches. They're responsible for making sure that you don't have sensors. U.S. companies aren't doing bad things with sensors, looking at Air Force bases and whatnot.
Right.
I'm reducing that a little bit further than it really is, but so they'll control if you can have. It's not just cameras, but sensors in general. So if you have something larger than a handheld camera in space, and it's not like a military launch, then NOAA is responsible for the licensing of that, of all weird agencies. So that's in and of itself is fine. But the idea is, a handheld camera, something that would be able to really something larger than a handheld camera, something that had a lot of focus power going back down to Earth and looking at things that probably shouldn't be looking at. Yeah. So when you have for example, Falcon or Atlas or Delta launch that have onboard cameras, and it's not a military mission, NOAA started enforcing, hey, you need to get a license from us. And that license process is long and painful. And it's stupid, because the Department of Defense will let you go up just fine, but NOAA's like, well, I don't know, blah, 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 we got to... And yet the military is fine with it. But NOAA isn't for some reason.
Whoa, nice footage. Could we use it for our dinner later this year?
It's also stupid because you can find meter or better resolution of every Air Force base or military installation in the United States on Google Maps.
Again, it's them enforcing. It's like someone at NOAA got a stick up their butt and decided that they wanted to start enforcing this. And it is so bad that, in my opinion, we need to, and this is going to be a controversial thing to say, it's time to disband NOAA, take the science part of it and give it to NASA. Because they are doing legitimate science that needs to be done. But just the science part of it, give it to NASA, because NASA can actually do a really good job with that. And get rid of everyone else. Because if this is what we're using our tax dollars for, we shouldn't be doing this anymore. Yeah, I know. Everyone cringes.
Well, how much is left of NOAA? I just thought NOAA was the National Oceanographic.
That's what they should be.
Right. So how much more of it is there? How many of these pencil-pushing, bureaucratic, I'm going to get you, how much of NOAA is that?
Great question.
That might just be one person.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, we're looking at you.
Quit trying to be important.
Yeah, right? You're in NOAA. Be a scientist. And that's it.
Yeah.
Wow. What the heck?
I actually don't disagree with you, Ben.
Yeah.
I feel like the science arm of NOAA should be thrown into NASA, but the problem is most of the time when people are making the argument to cut NOAA out completely, and you ask them, what do you want to do with the science after that, they go, oh, I didn't think about that.
No, you can't get rid of the science, right? So as I mentioned in the chat room, they're responsible for weather satellites. So they're actually responsible for a lot of things that NASA would be really, 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 really good at when you think about it. So give them those things.
NASA kind of helps NOAA a lot with
I know.
satellites.
NOAA kind of doesn't know how to do it very well, and they're already really relying on NASA. So just give it to NASA,
right? Ooh, can we do this?
Yeah, a lot of the sensors on NOAA satellites are made at NASA.
Space from English.
Ooh.
We can get rid of all of this ITAR and NOAA and whatever. Depod Dolphin's like, I have an idea. Tomorrow, space from England. Then we all move to England, and then we can all be weird accent people.
Yeah, but
Get rid of citizenship and everything like that, and renounce our American citizenship, and then we don't have to worry about a thing.
Right?
My gosh. Infidels, all of you.
Out of all the countries you could pick, why wouldn't you pick Australia or New Zealand?
I resemble that remark.
Venezuela.
They're English.
No, Kay McCoy, you're misunderstanding. I didn't say take the space science and move it away. I said take the science and move it away. I did not qualify it with space. NASA is a lot more than just space. So let them take the science. Let NASA take the oceans as well. That's what the O in NOAA is. Give NASA the oceans too. They actually do really well there. NASA's really good at all of this
liquid
stuff.
space.
Let NASA explore liquid space. Let NASA.
That's from the OG submarine ride here at Disneyland. So just to let you know, that was part of the narration.
Anyhow,
We are now exploring liquid space.
yeah.
So
I told you it'd be a controversial idea.
Wasn't that the final season of Voyager? Anyway.
Well,
Or Noah,
we're not
either
gonna have
that.
anyone from Noah on the show now because they're going to hate us.
Yeah, so-
Species,
or-
872? Yeah.
Or NOAA needs to get rid of these pencil pushers that are just doing things for the sake of doing things, and just move back to just science and just move back to that side of it.
Yes,
But
please.
As where they're at right now, they're hated by everyone. So good work, NOAA.
nobody likes you.
Nobody likes you. You don't have any friends anymore.
Even your
Jeez,
parents.
mean girl Ben over here.
Dang. Somebody earlier called him Bonesaw Ben. We were talking about how mean he is in the post.
So
You do not want to. Carl Road says you do not want to have to pay UK taxes.
I
I
bet.
don't know. If it's anything like American taxes, I'm sure we won't have a problem.
They UK taxes, the VATs, value-added taxes, and all that stuff. The UK taxes at a higher rate, but they've also got universal health care.
Woo!
other things.
And roads that work and bridges that aren't collapsing out from under them. So,
I don't understand this mythical land you speak of.
I know. It's called England.
Englewood?
It's just
That's not far
slightly
from
east
here.
of there.
It has universal healthcare too.
Is it any
does
good though?
indeed.
That's actually a thing that I've
I mean,
never
I'm not
actually.
going to go bankrupt.
It's universal health care that you can actually use, so better than what we got.
I mean, I don't go to the doctor in America because I don't understand the insurance system and how much.
No one does. That's how they get you.
Right?
Yeah, I feel like all healthcare sucks, whether it's universal healthcare or not. It seems
Yeah.
like we just suck as humans.
Yeah, so it should just be a thing that the government pays for because it's less expensive doing it that way. Fact.
It'd just be nice to have health care that you're not paying $5,000 or more a year and you can't even use it. Like, what the hell is the point?
Or you sign up for a service called Forward. That's pretty good.
Actually, it's amazing. Like we bring this up, and like the counter, the diametrically opposed. Private is way better, cheaper, and quicker, and then boot private is called.
let me tell you
it's
about
called
that.
Yeah, right.
Waiting for months of service. Yeah, I think private can be better if you can afford it.
Right.
Service at all.
If you are not Cobra, private is not better.
Hey, you want to hear about my experience trying to get a therapist?
Yeah.
How long
Yeah,
that
but
took?
I'm on-
Here in Los Angeles.
I'm on
So-
forward. My experience has been magical.
So I actually switched providers at my job, and immediately within 36 hours of calling them had a therapist. But the one that I had before, which was the largest healthcare provider in the Los Angeles area, 12 months, and they couldn't find me a therapist. They're like, we can't find one for you.
What?
So
They didn't have
in one
like
of the largest urban centers in the world, they couldn't find me a
Why?
therapist for 12 months. So they said, oh, well, we just can't find one. And then they would find one, and I would find out it's like 125 miles away from me.
Jesus.
And I was just like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So,
They didn't like give you like an online directory of like here's what's
They
within
did.
the providers, but were none of them accepting patients?
nope, none of them are accepting patients.
Oh, late.
So,
Well,
yeah.
is it because it was the LA area? Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, my provider I have right now, like I said, within 36 hours, had one. So.
But
I
doesn't
don't
that?
know.
Well, hang on. Doesn't
Sure.
that show some of the power of the private industry? Because you were able to just go, I don't like this one. I'm going to do this one instead.
I will say with the government mandated health care that came into play,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it, I also, when I needed to start up my wonderful regiment of things, when my brain decided I'm not going to work so well anymore, no more chemicals. Oh, wait, wrong amount of them. When that happened as well, within 2 days I had a therapist with them. And then when my therapist ended up going back to school and leaving, I left the office that day with a new therapist. So
So the
So I had
the
tremendous
ACA or whatever.
ACA, yeah, I had
that
it in-
helped you. That worked well for you.
Yes, it did.
So,
So-
the not quite universal health care was okay, but the privatized stuff was not. Is that what you're saying?
My initial choice that I made for privatized healthcare was not. The provider I have now is awesome. So they are fantastic.
But
So-
again, my point is you had choice. Like
Yes.
you weren't forced into one.
No.
Isn't that
But you have
better?
choice in Australia. You can go to whatever doctor you want,
Yeah.
and you still pay like only $20 to whatever doctor you want to go to.
And you can go, like, there's no
Mm-hmm.
weird time things. You can just walk right in, same day kind of thing, kind of like forward.
I will say though, with the
That sounds nice. I mean,
with the like mental health issues and stuff that I have to contend with, it's a very specialized kind of therapy that you have to do. So it can be a bit difficult. And just
I'll do it for you.
Just thank you, Ben.
I could do anything.
And just in general as well, this is something that I could probably make a whole video on. The mental health system in the United States kind of sucks. So, because it's not preventative, it's usually after the catastrophic event is when it comes in. It doesn't try to prevent those catastrophic events in your life from occurring. It's reactive, not proactive.
I
So-
legitimately don't know, so that's why I'm asking the question, because I haven't lived overseas, so I don't know what those
Yeah, I don't know
healthcare
either,
systems
so-
are like. And the system I have right now, I haven't had to lean on very heavily. It's just general sickness, never like, hi, I'm about to die. Well, that's not entirely true. A couple times. And Donna starts laughing.
Yeah, I gotta say.
There were a handful of times, but yeah. Okay, actually, no, that was pretty awful. Yeah. Welcome.
Yes!
Hey!
Hello.
How's it going?
Part of the conversation to
Yeah, come on in.
So actually, speaking of,
Water's just fine.
we're winding down with space and with After Dark. We're about to hit tomorrow's science. We're about 30 minutes away or so. So we're going to reset the set.
Set the set to
Reset
reset.
Reset the...
We'll have the set resetted for resetting.
set up to
Yeah.
reset the
So
set.
I'm going to roll the hologram off. We're going to get it's 3 chairs for this one.
Three
Yes,
chairs, yeah.
3 chairs.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Mike. Thank
Bye,
you so
Mike.
much.
Bye, for you.
See you guys
And,
later. Good show.
Yep. And we're
See
going to
you
get this all set up. But we'll kind of stuff
Oh
and
wait,
things.
post show, not before. We don't have time for that, so I guess we'll do that later.
Yep, we'll do it later.
Time.
Cool. All right.
All right. See you
Okay.
guys.
So I'm going to start the
There we go.
the process.
All right. I'm just gonna
All right.
put that there. I'm gonna take these and put them in my hands. And
I take these from you with my hands
Everyone can
and I put them
do
in my pocket.
what they wish with everything.
Hurt my ear hole.
Oh.
You're a lizard?
That was a fun healthcare discussion. Actually, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. So
Moon table. I hope we didn't.
So those of you who think we're leaving, we're not. We're just resetting the set. So I'm going to go sit in the green room and eat. But after I help you reset the set.
Think back to that.
Can only imagine what the people underneath will think when I move the chair.
What?
Well, when I move the chair, it makes this thump noise.
So my son Jake...
But there's a suite underneath it.
Hi. Sorry. Hi. Nice to meet you, Jade. Hello.
Recognize you from the show. Yeah.
Oh, really? Thank you. Recognize you from the internet because I researched it.
Anything I can do right here, Ben?
I think we're fairly good. I'll just kind of muck with it a little bit.
Have your microphone.
Yes, you can. You can have my microphone. No.
If you want it,
Absolutely not. If you want it, come and get it.
pry it from me.
Feats of strength.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do...
Center.
Lisa, I think since we're in person, I think I'm going to do like kind of facing a little bit. So it's 2 and 1 facing each other. So it's more of a casual conversation as opposed to an arc.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
makes sense.
So I think I'll do...
After, it's usually easier for me and Jake to like non-verbally work out who's going to talk next.
Do sign.
Yeah, but usually you have the TV as a separator, but you're not going to have that this time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think...
It'll be okay.
kind of like...
Oh, this is mine.
Wow, this is amazing. It's like watching Tetris happen.
Just like that.
IRL.
You know, I met the guy that like...
Copyright.
No, don't! The algorithm!
That's how accurate it was.
Let's get this closer so it's not quite as.
So did you have to fly in?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I really wanted to meet you guys and get to know this world more.
Oh, wow.
So I figured that's way more effective.
Crazy,
That is so
crazy
cool.
world.
Instead of FaceTime or whatever, this is so much
Yeah.
more effective.
The OG FaceTime.
Face-to-face
What?
time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you're amazing!
Yeah.
Wow.
We are still live, by the way.
Yeah, we know.
We're
Oh, yeah.
everything we say.
All right, I need to
I'm
be.
Jared, by the way.
I mean, I've caught clips of the show before.
All right, I'm gonna sneak behind you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Behind you, Jared.
I'm really,
Jared. There you go. Thank you.
really excited to hear about all the Pluto stuff. So,
Yeah, for
'cause
sure.
I know up at Griffith Observatory we were going nuts constantly.
Oh, yeah?
In that time period when all the data
Yeah.
was coming out.
Yes.
That was some good times.
I remember the conference with the first photo, and we were there were 20 of us around the computer
Yeah.
streaming it in our back area, and that was just mind blowing seeing that. So.
Yeah. for
Still
sure.
is. So.
It is. We're still getting papers right
Might
now.
need to rotate this some more.
We're still writing papers, basically.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that
Yeah.
for seconds.
Oh, that's so funny. Somebody said the tables look like ashtrays.
All right, welcome to Tamara.
It's going to be like Mad Men up in here. Where's my scotch?
John Hamm's briefcase.
That was a delightful drink.
Oh my God.
So for those who didn't hear, Sarah said John Hamm's briefcase, which is a drink that you can get. It's delightful. Everyone want to take a quick seat? I'll see if I can't make this suck less. I'm trying to.
Who is everyone?
Well, I'll have you sit over there, Jade, and then I'm missing one. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go in the other room and eat.
Hey, Kat.
Kitty.
Kitty? No. Tell me one. What do you
Here I go by Kitty.
Okay.
I'm Kitty in the chat room.
All right.
The other half of Dutta. I remember your face from Yuri's night, but a lot was going on that night.
Doesn't
There was a
matter
lot
very
going
much
on.
from Yuri's night, let's be honest.
I
That was
remember
a good
faces
night.
really well, just not names. So.
Well, good to officially meet you, Kitty.
Doopy-doo.
Yuri's night was fun.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
And
Wait, what was weird?
No, I wasn't. I think it was on my birthday.
Oh, really?
Or something.
That's a good birthday.
Or what wasn't it? Or was I in? I was doing something. Yeah.
I don't know. Athena was gold. Literally painted gold.
Yeah.
Partial face gold.
I was wearing Epcot pants. It was great.
Epcot pants.
It's like space pants, but Epcot pants.
Space pants. Did you have water, soda? Oh, it looks like you've
That's
got a
gin.
thing.
Just kidding.
Gin, perfect. That's even better.
See, you know what's up,
Yeah, oh yeah.
He fits right in.
right?
All right, that was faster than expected.
Yeah, we have so much time.
Yeah.
My bad.
So, question is, do you want to just start early?
I mean, I didn't advertise the show at all, so
Theoretically.
I did.
and the website still says 18 to 2000 as opposed to 2030. So there's that.
I'm okay. Start.
I didn't text a ton of people that it was starting at 12:30, but whatever.
Oh, we should totally wait then.
All right. Yeah, we can
No,
wait.
well,
We can also
the
just.
interwebs are waiting now. Now I feel guilty. I shouldn't.
True.
Nah, they're fine.
I mean, we can give them like Science After Dark, which is before dark, question mark, like the show after the show that happens to be before the show.
So wait, we have.
New
So
show.
space has after dark and science has before dark,
I mean, it's just like the whole like
or is science? It's still dark,
continuing dark,
continuing dark.
forever dark.
Hey Lisa, other than the fact that your shirt is a constellation of a unicorn, which is totally cool,
Isn't
my
it?
socks match.
Wow.
Wait,
Well, I feel left out.
you're.
I mean,
I have
You
some
have
freckles.
unicorn constellation socks?
That look like.
No, I have like normal constellation socks. They're not as what's
Unicorny,
the adjective?
magical.
Mythical?
Magical.
Majestic.
majestic.
So on what planet
Unicorny.
in the galaxy could you actually connect the dots of the stars in the sky to make a unicorn? I bet that planet exists.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's so many. There's got to be so many cool,
With
like.
400 billion stars in just our galaxy, I'm guessing there's a unicorn constellation somewhere.
Oh, there's
Exactly.
several.
I am so excited to go to that planet. I don't know where it is, but one day I will find it and I will go there
And it will be amazing. Also, this is like exactly right where I needed it. When I accidentally put my arm down, and I was like, "There's a table there. I'm just going to go with it."
Welcome to the
and
show.
then to do that,
The moon tables are the tables are actually known as moon tables. That's like the name that's on the box. They're both the most amazing and useless table
very
ever.
cool.
It fits. I love that it fits a drink.
But it's so unstable.
You can drum on it. You can be
You
like,
just-
Well, you can also like you can do this.
oh hey, now I have an iPad.
Yeah, that's
No,
totally.
you put the iPad down, then you put a nut coaster, and then you put your drink. Everyday Astronaut has started selling
Not coasters.
but they're grid fan shaped, not coasters. I want
Yeah,
one.
but what do you use that for?
To elevate your hot drink.
Atmospheric entry?
That too.
No, that's definitely not surviving atmospheric
I need
entry.
the chat room.
It's burning up immediately upon touching the atmosphere.
I need an iPad.
Oh, somebody's saying there's a Godzilla constellation. Are there any orc constellations? I imagine a planet where it's nothing but World of Warcraft constellations and.
All right.
Karen is
That'd be
correcting me,
radical.
saying only we call the moon tables are called orb tables. I thought they said moon on the
Orb?
box. Orb.
Doesn't
Well,
that indicate some sort of spherical dealy Bob?
I think I'm going to pretend like they said moon on the box. I feel like that lore is a better lore. Yeah.
Moon table.
It does kind of look like I'm answering Johnny's spacer verbally instead of.
All right. Now I have to figure out how to use an iPad.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
No, wait. I need to get into the... Oh, I am in the beta chat already. Yeah, see, look, I don't need help at all. No, I got this. I'm good.
So you flew in from...
I know what I'm doing.
Maryland. How's it over there right now?
A bit chilly?
A little cold?
A little cold.
Is that on the East Coast? I am Australian, so I
You
don't
are
know
Australian,
things.
yeah, so it's halfway between
Can't tell, I don't sound
Washington,
Australian.
D.C. and Baltimore. That's where I live.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, right outside the Beltway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is this
proximity to power?
Is this like
How many hours? How many hours drive are you from Wallops?
Oh, good. I don't know. Probably 3 or 4 hours. 3 hours, maybe.
That's not too bad, though.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you go to
pretty
Wallops
neat.
for any, like, Antares flights or anything?
I haven't. Actually, a friend of mine has a plane, and we flew in to see a launch, but it got scrubbed. And the way we knew it was scrubbed was because we could see the headlights of cars driving away from the launch pad.
Were you going to stay in the air when the rocket launched so you could catch it from the air?
We were just doing like a figure 8 holding pattern over the ground because the rockets launched over the Atlantic.
Sure.
So we were okay.
That would have been amazing if that had actually, like, seen a rocket launch from a plane that's like, when you bring the plane there to see the launch, so you're, like, purposely oriented to see it? That sounds like that'd be incredible.
Cool. Kind of the consolation prize was that he also was doing, like, zero gravity, like, parabolas and, like, wingovers.
What?
So we didn't see a rocket launch, but I did get weightless. So it was okay.
That sounds terrifyingly awesome.
It's so cool. When you look up and when you look up, you don't feel upside down, and there's the ground. That's a cool feeling.
Oh gosh.
That's a cool feeling. I love it.
So what was that? What did you do that in?
It was, what was it? I'm blanking on the name. It's a classic airplane with a V-shaped tail.
Oh, okay.
It's like a 4-seater,
Gotcha.
single prop. Beechcraft Bonanza.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that might have been like a zero-G flight, but then with the big planes. But then I was like, wingovers.
Yeah, you can
No,
get zero,
it's not recommended for,
G
like,
on literally any Airbus.
I want to go on a zero-G flight.
Wait, I thought a zero-G was a 737. Is it an Airbus?
727. So the Zero Gravity Corporation operates a Trijet 727.
Oh, all right.
Which have been out of production since 1984.
But you can wing over. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do a wing over.
One could. One may not be able to pull out of that.
Actually, I gotta say, there's an amazing video online of a part of a test flight for the Boeing 717 with the test pilots, and they're doing a stall spin test on it, and they accidentally invert and go into a dive with it, and they have to literally like pull out of the dive like a full loop.
So like a shuttle RTLS.
And they don't even like bust a sweat. They're literally just like, oops, all right, here we go. Going back with it and easing back. And they're just like, all right, we've got plenty of room, And like if I was, in the cockpit of a huge, this is a commercial airliner that they accidentally flip and then spin and they recover it. It's just like a piece of cake.
Oh yeah, thanks, Jonas. The guest does need a microphone. My bad.
So, also, didn't the prototype for the Boeing 717
I will sort that.
Grab Sarah's microphone.
Maybe.
May I please use your microphone?
Like some of the 787 footage of them just mucking with the airplane to see what they can do
thingies
is just
on the back
pretty
when I put
impressive.
it on,
Like
a little clip thing that
they'll
helps you
do
open
the
it.
just I forget what it's
Oh,
called in
no.
the chat room.
The clip
Can
is not
correct
working right.
correct me.
Oh,
Where
no.
they
Well,
do
so
the
why doesn't
maximum.
the
They, you
Apple
get as much
capsule,
speed
like,
and
do
you do the
anything?
maximum climb off the
does?
runway
there,
that
like,
you
an on
can. And it
button?
looks like it's just it
so
looks
you
like
have
it just
to
hits a
make sure
wall
that
and goes
it's-
straight up like a rocket.
How much for that?
Wait a second, what's going on here?
How much can I add on to it?
I broke it.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
It should be.
And then they did a few other things. I don't think they inverted or went wing over, but they did a lot of stuff that was just really cool looking. I think they brought it into a stall.
Oh yeah, we have to
Yeah,
test that.
yeah.
For
So,
sure,
no.
No? Okay, so let's try.
And now we've lost
So they
Jared.
have to be paired.
Oh,
Do you have any
My
other
bad.
plans at least while you're down here?
Is that your?
that's the one I'm going to use.
Check out this one.
Yeah.
Stuff tomorrow I want to check out.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Anything particular, like museums or like?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Cool. There's plenty of that around these parts.
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't
so
realize
now-
that Disneyland was in Anaheim.
Should be.
It's
Did you wanna go to
literally 5
Disneyland?
minutes away.
Thank you. So cool. All right, cool. I got everything I think I need.
I'm a Disney princess as well. Just so
Except
you know.
Sandy.
Wait, hang on,
Disney
hang on. Wait,
princess.
hold.
I was gonna say,
I
how
have-
could you say that without grabbing it?
I know. Yeah.
What a lovely surprise for you. You're gonna get an actual princess in studio in T-minus
Ah,
Something?
5
why won't it
seconds.
stay?
All right.
There you go.
It's an authentic Anaheim experience.
This is the one I could find.
It's the best
I
experience.
love
Yeah.
the tiara.
Yeah.
The other one is over there in the
there it
fish
is.
I'll
tank.
stop wearing that ever.
This is my lucky launch tiara, and I have literally worn this during launches, including a time. I'll tell the story on the air. Including a time when I was doing pre-checks with NASA, and so we were not live to the world, but we were live to all of the NASA centers, just trying to get all the technology working. Blah blah blah. A few hours away from launch itself, and I had talent on camera doing their segment, and because we were doing fairly well, and I was bored, I literally put on the tiara and walked on camera while he was doing his thing. So there is a shot of me in the tiara being broadcast to all of the NASA centers across the U.S.
Nice.
And my phone immediately starts blowing up from all of my counterparts at all the different NASA centers being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you just did that." Yeah, it was
You
a
work
lot
for
of fun.
SpaceX or something?
I work for a company in aerospace.
I also
we'll just
work
call
for a
them
company
X for now.
in aerospace that, I
There you go.
mean,
Here's
I
the
also
other.
work in a laboratory, so if you want to go ahead and clip that
Okay.
to yourself,
Okay.
and then we can drop this down your shirt.
Okay. Or should we go, like, we'll do this. But now it's like,
Oh yeah, also the clip broke on that one, I'm sorry.
oh, okay.
Hey Ben,
But you
so
should just
Yes.
go to, yeah, there you go.
wavelengths in
Yep, awesome.
They're like 2 hours.
Yep, yep, and then we take this end and shove it.
Down my shirt?
Yep, it's
Okay.
the easiest way to do it, because then gravity helps it fall down.
Unfortunately,
Who
I
would've
was
thought?
weightless.
I mean, me too.
We are weightless because obviously we are on a space
Hold it
station.
in front
Yeah,
of
so
Planet Calf.
Duh.
All right,
so
and then this.
it's your
goes
Velcro
here.
that's holding you down.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
Yep.
And then if you just want to throw this in a pocket, if you have one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'm super glad that Athena set this up for me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she really wanted to be here today,
Oh.
but then she had a other conflict that she couldn't get out of.
Yeah,
So
that's too bad.
yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, now I've got this mess of wires. Okay.
How do you know Athena?
We met doing advocacy on Capitol Hill with the Space Exploration Alliance for NASA's funding.
Wow.
Okay.
So, not quite 2 years ago. Was that about? Yeah, about roughly 2 years ago. Yeah, so we met in DC, and we're both like really excitable and enthusiastic, and what NASA well funded.
Can't tell at all.
And yeah, so we've hung out a couple times, and yeah, it's been fun.
Have you had a chance to at least see her while you're down here?
I don't
Over-
know. I don't. She
suppose
seems.
it's over here.
I mean, if that works out, that'd be great.
When do
actually-
you go back?
I fly back Sunday afternoon tomorrow.
Oh, so you're here the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
I have no idea what her schedule is.
Yeah,
I know
me
that, I know that she wasn't able to do this show,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but she was originally scheduled, but then had to cancel,
Oh,
unfortunately.
bummer. Okay.
Yeah.
We have so one of our crazy rocket scientists, Vax Headroom, is actually in Baltimore, and if you would like to get in touch, you can. He was on the L-Cross program. We call him the Moona Bomber.
Okay.
And he also, and Vax, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he had some of his music on L-Cross that then slammed into the moon as well.
Nice.
So.
Wait, there was like music playing on the space?
Wasn't playing. It was like
bass, though.
Yeah, it was like on an EEPROM or on a chip.
Oh,
just,
okay.
Just like a digital file. I think
Cool.
that he slammed into. Although music playing would be awesome, but technically speaking, because it doesn't have a medium to transfer through, would the music be playing? Question
I
mark?
would say yes, because like the
Spacecraft
the
itself would
spacecraft
be
could
the
be
medium?
vibrating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, that's fair.
Vax says it was a memory test pattern.
A memory test pattern. Sure. Memory test pattern. Yeah.
Oh, Lunar Bomber sounds way better than
All
Lunar
right,
Bomber.
Luna Bomber. All right,
Luna
Luna
Bomber.
Bomber.
Pickle Stuff says, was it one drum beat long? Oh, man.
So okay, so I'm doing the intro.
Oh, yeah, did you want to practice?
Oh yeah, we need cold open.
Yeah, we can.
I mean, I kind of scripted one. I know no
I saw
scripts,
that. Looks
but
good.
like you don't have to
Let me know
use
what the
those
script
words.
says.
Right now?
We don't
Well, I
have
mean,
to-
if we're going to do the script, I want to hear it.
Okay.
We have 120 seconds to grab their attention up front.
Oh!
I feel like it's less than that.
Well, based on the
According
grid.
to the
Okay,
analytics.
by 120 seconds,
Let me
that's
change
where
it up
we
a
kept
little.
or lost them. How's that?
Yeah. I wanted to open it with a question because I wanted to hook them. So if it works, it works.
This at one point was a very controversial question.
Right?
Inspired
I mean, it's
a
still
lot
controversial.
A lot of emotional
Controversy. Emotion?
Yes.
Controversy? I love it.
And then the do you want to do like the two-person cold open
Oh,
thing?
and so then you will say about the comments and thoughts, and then say, you want to split it that way?
Yeah, is that all right?
Also-
No, absolutely.
Also, you need to sign the set before you leave.
Yes.
No show video or photo.
Love it.
So, I can tell you've worked in aerospace before because you asked if you could take a picture.
Yes. Yes.
There's no avatar in this
That is the
studio.
telltale
It's like-
sign. It's funny, when I go to Disney, I feel like I don't take pictures because I'm so used to not being allowed to take pictures. It's just,
Right.
it's weird.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. I work
like-
in aerospace.
Yeah.
Are you
Yep.
a Disney fan?
Not opposed to it.
I love that
Oh,
answer.
that's not the answer I wanted.
I love it.
I like Harry Potter. I want to do Harry Potter World. Or whatever it's called.
It is over here.
Yeah.
It's very far from here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Not
I had
that
to drive
far.
there after
It's
work
like an
once. It took
hour.
me like 2 hours.
With traffic, yeah.
No,
but-
okay, no. It's 2 hours from the laboratory in traffic,
Yeah.
which is not here,
More so.
nor would there be traffic.
Yeah.
As much traffic.
That's fair.
Also depends on what time of the day you go.
Yeah, I left work at like
Sometimes it sucks,
4:30,
and sometimes
5.
it really sucks. And sometimes it's just dumb.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
I've gone the just dumb part, and it's just dumb.
Yeah.
Tickle Stuff says that, and Ben is pre-Instagram generation.
First
They're
off-
not wrong.
First off, yes. But I'm not that
Right,
old.
So am I.
You're more savvy. I think.
I don't go on Instagram except like when somebody says, "Oh, hey, Jake posted." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Oh, stop it.
Awesome. And then they're like, "Lisa posted." Cool.
Nice.
People are like, "Why don't you ever post anything?" I'm like, "Cause I don't."
'Cause you have a
I'm
life.
Not of that world. I don't know.
Yeah.
I post things on Facebook.
Who runs the Tomorrow Twitter?
Ow.
I do a really bad job of it.
I sometimes post.
And she does a better job of it.
I do
Okay.
an okay job.
I was
All right.
posting from SpaceCom because the laboratory sent me on a conference and I was in the audience, so I was like, I'm just going to tweet for tomorrow. Why not?
We use
Okay.
Zoho Social, so we all
Yeah, okay, because I've
contribute.
been tweeting at you guys a little bit, so.
Oh, I
Retweets
don't have it
welcome.
open. Hang on, let me open it.
Yeah, pretty,
Drop the bird.
pretty bad Twitter. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So Tomorrow was started by like SpaceX employees or something like that?
Tomorrow.
Oh, how do you guys answer that? Because, yeah,
First.
Space Food
So,
Test was first.
my wife and I started it 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, back in Minnesota. Don't you know, you betcha. Holy
Holy
buckets.
buckets.
Oh, jeez.
Oof,
And we started it just kind of in our basement. Not kind of in our basement. We started it in our basement. And it was just extra gear that I had hanging out. It was just a conversation about space and exploration and getting. This is back when the space shuttle was still flying.
Yeah.
I had just learned that the space shuttle was canceled, and I'm like, we cannot cancel the space shuttle. I grew up with this. How dare we cancel the shuttle?
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about this, and I'm like, well, actually, I don't know anything about the space shuttle because I wasn't a space nerd at the time. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. I was like a passive space nerd.
Passive space nerd. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started
most
doing a little bit
people
of research and realized, space shuttle needs to go away. And then so we just started having this conversation about like, okay, well, space shuttle needs to go away, but we can't just not have human presence in space.
Right.
So what does that look like? And that turned into this show, essentially.
Wow.
And we would then go down and we'd do high-definition coverage of space shuttle launches themselves. So we were the only ones doing it at the time. NASA wasn't even high-def online. And we had hundreds of thousands of viewers, just huge chat rooms worth of people doing amazing things. Got pretty popular doing that. And then a aerospace company was like, we like what you're doing. We want you to help us with our webcasts. And so they plucked me out of Minnesota and dropped me here in California. And I've been working for them ever since. And the only caveat was that I will not give up the show. I will still be doing the show. And they're like, all right, that's fine. And so they said, that's fine, but you can never talk about us on your show because then it looks like you are speaking on behalf of the company. So we have a very hard line in the sand of like, I never speak of the company. I don't do anything with regards to that company. We have other people. That's actually why we brought other people on the show and expanded it beyond just my wife and myself because that company's doing amazing things in space. You can't not talk about them.
Right.
So brought someone else on. That's also why I speak in code that everyone can understand because then it's you understand, but I'm clearly not speaking on behalf of that company.
I get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yep. So I've been doing that. Then we changed the name to TMRO because I never liked the name Space Vidcast. We got the studio space, and we've been trying to expand and do bigger, better, more awesome things ever since. So the goal of the show is each show should be better than the last. Everything should be better and more awesome than the last one.
Progression.
Always moving forward. Sometimes
Towards the future.
Yes.
Sometimes
Towards
I move
tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly correct. So that's the very long version of how the show actually got
Cool.
started. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And my wife is not here right now. She's brother
over there.
Oh, she wasn't here earlier. Now she's here. So never mind. Didn't notice my wife was here.
I don't have ears in because I don't
You
need
shouldn't need
ears,
ears.
right? Yeah, good.
Should I take
My ears are thanking you.
Is that how you talk to the aliens?
Yeah. Just.
Do you speak Klingon?
That's a little bit of like a dated language these days.
Oh, is it?
I don't mean to embarrass you or anything, but I mean, we've actually graduated to I'm just kidding. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
That's hilarious.
You'll get used to that.
Are you taking your ears out?
Is that okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You want me to get them from you? Yeah.
You can take this. Thank you. And then I'll just wrap this up. And
I'll just take your ears if you want. Or are they routed through you?
They are.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
going
right.
to very
Do I have a what?
nonchalantly.
You have a 10 or a 10S phone?
I have whatever. I think it's just a 10 regular. Yeah, whatever this is. I don't know.
Silence it.
I don't know technology.
You know what it is? That's what I'm asking.
I don't know. My watch beeped.
Did you have any questions about like what the interview is going to be or what to expect or anything like that?
Sure. All of those.
Did they reach out and give did anyone give you like timing information or like how?
I heard 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to talk about New Horizons.
Okay.
So that's fine. That's great. That's what I've been like
Science time.
practicing my sound bites for.
Oh, neat.
How neat is that?
But whatever. But
We're going to do a cold open where we basically just describe what the show is going to be, and then we run a really cool like video open package thing. We come back, we go straight into the interview. Jade and I will both be asking questions, and then if there's some cool stuff in the chat room, we'll ask that as well. Then we take a quick break, then we just talk about stuff from the last week's show.
Yeah.
So you know how you get together with friends, maybe you're drinking beer, for me it'd be vodka, something. And you're just excited about space, sitting around a table, and you're just passionately speaking about those really cool things happening in space.
yeah.
That's what this is.
Yes.
So it's that passionate, you're having a drink, and instead of it just being the three of you, we extend this to the live community as well.
Yeah.
So we do our best to interact with them, and when they have questions, we want to make them part of the conversation, not just us speaking to them, but they're here with us in the room.
And they really are. They're just behind that piece of glass.
They're like
Just
they're
there.
right here. They're
Hi,
right
guys.
here.
Hey.
You look great today.
Hello again.
I love your shirt.
So that's our secret sauce, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Is that it's all about the community, not about us.
Yeah.
So we will do our best to actually ask questions on their behalf. It is a moderated chat room, so like we'll parse through that and make sure we're not asking crazy things. And they'll take care of all that for you. So you don't need to worry about that. That's what their iPads are for. They'll click on things and magical graphic things will happen. It will be amazing.
Cool. Yeah, I took a bunch of images from that NASA like photo journal thing that you linked to me.
Yeah.
So many cool ones, like and like graphs with like data on like
the NASA photojournal is this underappreciated like resource.
Really cool.
Yeah.
In terms of like seeing the latest images from like every mission that NASA has flown, every robotic mission, like it's updated like every day.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like I spent like a good hour going through those images, like
Good.
which ones are the best ones? I want to pick all of them, but we don't have time for all of them. Like, you guys are in for a treat.
Yeah.
Let's see. They're suggesting to orient him a little bit more towards the camera. Do you think?
They haven't seen his camera.
Oh, he has his own. Oh!
Oh, there's my camera.
Wow! Hey-o. All right, that's cool.
Sweet.
Do you want to practice the cold open rat quick?
Let's do it.
I would like to
So
hear
that
it,
I
please.
can do it terribly the second time around?
I would like it to be as awkward as possible every time.
Really wish you wouldn't challenge me like that, because you know I'm going to rise to the occasion.
Hang on one second. Let me grab the rundown. I just realized I need to be...
Is it copyright if I say hello, neighbor?
I don't know where that's from, so.
Mr. Rogers.
Oh.
Well, it's
I
not
feel like
anymore.
you can't copyright 2 words.
Yeah. And it was PBS. Like, they're
Wait,
pretty
wait,
chill.
wait. Got milk.
Whoa! Mic drop. Carton drop.
Carton drop.
Actually, you didn't say the way he says it, so you're.
Oh. I don't even know what it's from. I just know it's a thing. Don't judge me.
Hi.
I'm younger than y'all.
Technically, Jade is.
So,
younger than me, but-
this is okay, but Lisa, do you say anything?
I'm the second half. I just didn't put my name there.
Okay, let me hear it.
Hello, and welcome to Tomorrow. My name's Jade Kim, and I have a very controversial question for you. Should Pluto be a planet? We're chatting to Dr. Kirby Runyon from the Johns.
Yes.
Oh, it's the plural of John.
Yeah.
It's weird. The Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory to figure out what the science actually says.
And then we're going to switch over to feature your comments and questions from you, the community of tomorrow. Will your comments be featured? Well, you're about to find out. This is Tomorrow's Science Discovery 1.12.
That'll be much cooler.
No, do it from 2.
What?
Technical question. Awkward silences, I think.
Awkward
Ben
science.
is improving the show.
Or disproving it,
Ben
I'm
is
not sure.
buffering.
I need a little spinning thing.
Spinning wheel of death.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. That's exactly the sound it makes.
I think we
too.
should kill the first paragraph entirely.
Really?
Yep,
The hello and welcome to tomorrow.
yep.
So just say, do you think Pluto should be a planet? And then when we come back from break, is that when we do our intros and then
Yep.
introduce?
Here's the deal. I
fair. That's
literally
fair.
have 120 seconds to get people
Got it.
interested. And like,
I feel like that was 30 seconds. Was it? Anyway,
it,
I
it
don't
I
know
get
was,
what
what
you're
you're
it
saying.
saying,
was,
though.
but I didn't get hooked.
To start on the ground running.
Yeah, exactly. Just straight like for the
No need for
cold open,
pleasantries.
it should be exciting. And here's why you care, and here's why you want to watch. Right?
And then when they
This
come
is-
back, by the way, my name's Jade.
Yeah, and exactly. So we come back and be like, hi.
Also. How rude
Also,
of me.
did you know my name is Jade?
Isn't that what the question does? Or do we need more?
No, that's why I'm starting with the question. Right? The first planet of hello and welcome to tomorrow. My name is Jade and I have a question for you. Instead of that, I'm thinking you could start with I have a question for you. Do you think Pluto should still be a planet? We're going to have a conversation about that.
I think we should do the introduction for Kirby as well there because it adds.
I agree.
It adds.
I agree
credibility.
because it adds. Yep.
I have a comment. I don't know how to work this in, but so my employer needs to work on its marketing and branding a lot better.
Okay.
And APL is how we like.
APL.
Yes, just
Okay.
APL. Like
That's
you
a
can,
lot easier.
You can say Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics
first.
Laboratory. Yeah, but like people, when like JPL, you don't have to say it stands for Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and it's
People
run
just
for
know.
NASA by the California Institute of Technology. Like
Yeah.
no one ever says that. They just say JPL, and everyone knows what they're saying. APL, I want to be that familiar of a
Oh,
term.
absolutely.
I mean, to know that it's associated with Johns Hopkins University and it's called the Applied Physics Lab, that's fine. Again, I don't know how to work that in, but just calling it APL would be great. A
So
lot.
we can actually say almost exactly that on the air. However, we do have a no acronyms policy with rare exceptions. So,
Okay.
But what we can do is once you've said the acronym, you can use the acronym as long as you've explained it.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
people need to understand. Otherwise, Otherwise, if people don't know what the acronym is, it becomes. What am I trying to say?
Jargon?
It becomes jargon.
Yeah.
It becomes exclusive. Like
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
included in the conversation.
So-
You don't feel like you're part of the in crowd. But if we explain it up front, be like, this
Yeah.
is what it is, and then from there we can actually say we're going to refer to it as this from now on. And actually,
I think
I
people
feel
will
like
catch
that,
on pretty quickly. Because if I say, I'll say the whole thing in the very first intro, and then when we come back and we're like, and we're talking with Dr. Kirby Runyon, again, planetary geologist at Johns Hopkins APL.
Yeah. Actually, I think you can say I think in the cold open you can say APL. We do need to explain it at least once.
Okay.
But as long as we explain it, I'm happy. And we
so
don't
use
have
the full name, say AKA
The
APL.
cold open isn't where we explain things. The cold open is where we get people excited.
Got it.
We get people excited, and why are they staying tuned to watch this show? That's all we need to convey in this cold open. We don't need to convey anything else about what's going on.
I'm so sorry. They said
2
there was
minutes.
white noise. That's probably me. Oops. That's why I need my ear in, because I can't hear all the weird stuff I'm doing.
Any other did you have any other comments, Lisa?
I don't think so. I think we're good. Yeah, I'm happy to kill that first paragraph and just go straight into the question.
You want to try this one more time for me, please?
Yeah.
We're 2 minutes up.
So just go straight into, do you think Pluto should be
No,
a
I
planet?
think you should actually start with, I have a question for you. I like the I have a question for you part.
Not even, so
because,
not
because,
even, hey, tomorrow, I have a question for you.
Hey, you.
I mean, should I address them in some manner? Or just
Yeah,
say,
actually, I do.
have a
Actually,
question
that's
for you.
actually. Hey, tomorrow, I have a question for you. Addressing the community is not a bad idea.
Got it.
As awkwardly as possible as always, Kim, Jade, whatever.
Kim. People
Jade,
call me Kim all the
Jade,
time.
Jim, comic,
Almost belittling. All right. All right. So, and then, hey, tomorrow, I got a question for you. Should Pluto be a planet? We're chatting to Dr. Kirby Runyon of the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, aka the APL, to figure out what the science actually says.
And then we're going to feature questions and comments from you, the community. Is your comment going to be featured? Stick around because you're about to find out.
I like that.
You hate it.
Just don't explain the acronym. And
Oh, God,
and
that's
yeah,
right.
no,
that's
no,
right.
just-
We're not doing that.
That's the only thing I'll
Ixnay
change.
on the
Just,
acronym.
just straight into it in the cold open. Just boom, like
Just say the
fewer
full
words.
name.
Fewer words.
So we're not using APL in the intro?
You are using
Yeah, use the
APL in
shortened
the
version.
cold open.
Oh, got it. And then explain it. Oh,
You can
reverse.
explain it after the cold open.
Got it.
Right.
So APL, which stands for... Okay, so we're chatting to Dr. Kirby Runyon from the Johns Hopkins University APL.
Just drop university. You can just do Johns
Johns
Hopkins
Hopkins
APL.
APL. That feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're chatting to Dr. Kirby Runyon from Johns Hopkins APL
Laboratory.
Laboratory to figure out what the
One more
science-
time to make me happy, and then we'll start the
Okay.
show.
Hey, tomorrow, I've got a question for you. Should Pluto be a planet? Today we're chatting with Dr. Kirby Runyon from the Johns Hopkins APL, and we're going to see what the science actually says.
And then we're going to jump in with questions and comments from you, the community of tomorrow. Will your comment be featured? Stick around to find out. This is tomorrow's Science Discovery 1.12.
I'm happy with that. Go ahead. You say chatting to, we're chatting with, not chatting to.
Sorry.
Okay.
You can't chat to someone.
We all have our ears
could,
out so
but
we
I
can't
wouldn't
hear
talk
them.
back.
I'm going to veto that one for now, but I understand.
And then when we come back from break, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Hello and welcome.
All right.
Oh, when we transition into comments?
No, like when we start the interview.
It's showtime.
You can,
Everyone ready?
You can take that if you want.
Okay, I'll go first.
So I'll do cold open, you do warm open?
Yeah.
Got it.
Woohoo.
Hello, Tomorrow. I've got a serious question for you. Do you think Pluto should be a planet? Well, we're here to chat with Dr. Kirby Runyon from the Johns Hopkins APL to figure out what the science actually says.
And then we're going to go ahead and feature your questions and comments from the community. And is your comment going to be featured? Well, you're about to find out if you stick around. This is Tomorrow's Science Discovery 1.12. I know what the number 12 is. It's a real number. Oh, my goodness.
One more time, kids.
Oh, here we go. Let's do a show.
Hello, Tomorrow. I've got a serious question for you. Do you think Pluto should be a planet? Well, we're here today to chat with Dr. Kirby Runyon from the Johns Hopkins APL, and today we are going to discuss what the science actually says.
And then we're going to have a look at questions and comments from you, the community of tomorrow. Will your question be featured? Stick around to find out. This is Tomorrow's Science Discovery 1.12. And thanks for sticking with us. So we're going to get straight into our interview today. Kirby, thank you so much for taking the time to fly out here and join us.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Really excited to talk about all things Pluto. I think Pluto is amazing. I think it should be a planet. That's what we're here to discuss today. We're going to talk about the science, and we're going to talk about what New Horizons actually tells us about what's going on at Pluto. So you're actually a planetary geologist with a PhD, is
That's
that correct?
right, yeah. I finished my PhD a few years ago from Johns Hopkins University in planetary geology.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. Space rocks. That's planetary
Yes.
geology.
That's kind of rocks.
Yeah, so I study landscape evolution on planets, moons, and asteroids throughout the solar system, and most of the way I do that is from images sent back to Earth from robotic spacecraft that NASA and international space agencies have launched around the solar system in the pointy end of rockets.
Wow, are you actually working on the images that have come from like the furthest reaches of the solar system? Like, would you say that your work is looking at the deepest images of our solar system we've ever sent
Yes.
back?
So the furthest picture ever taken from space was probably when Voyager 1 took a picture of Earth from, gosh, 3 or 4 billion miles away.
Yes,
The
exactly.
pale blue dot.
In between the rings of Saturn, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that was Cassini, actually.
That was Cassini,
did
sorry.
another pale blue
Yes.
dot. No, that's cool. I mean,
You know, it's all great photos.
It's a blue pixel either way.
It's a dot.
It's a dot. But yeah, actually, New Horizons is flying past Ultima Thule, which is a 30-kilometer wide icy asteroid, depending on the time zone, either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day in 1 month, like literally a month from today. And when that happens, Ultima Thule will be the furthest explored world in the solar system ever. And those images will start coming back the same day.
Wow.
And so I'll be doing, along with my team members on the New Horizons team, doing geology with those pictures that come back.
But why are we sending spacecraft so far out? Like, it's so far away from us, right? It's almost like you can't touch it, you can't really visualize what's out there. So why do we go so far and explore these deep reaches of the solar system?
It's all about further, faster, higher. All about just pushing the envelope. seeing what's out there. It's why we have the Tomorrow Show, is to explore space. I want to see what's out there. This is Captain Kirk or Captain Picard style exploration.
Absolutely.
Where you're going where no spacecraft has gone before, seeing strange new worlds.
Yeah, and that's like, I love that gung-ho attitude about it, because a lot of times people ask, we're pouring so much money into it, but why? And I guess that leads into my next question. What can studying these other planets, especially these really distant bodies, what can that teach us about our own?
It helps us in a field called comparative planetology,
Ooh.
where you learn about one planet, and then that tells you things that are similar and different to other planets. For example, here on Earth we have sand dunes. There's sand that gets blown with the wind. Well, Pluto, with an atmosphere, I think it's 1/10,000th the density of our atmosphere, also has sand dunes. And no one ever expected that you could get air that thin to actually like blow the rough equivalent of sand, methane and nitrogen ice, on Pluto. And so it helps us I don't know, understand our place in space. It improves the intangibles of life, our life satisfaction by knowing what's out there. At least it does for me. And I think that's worth spending $2 billion a year on NASA's planetary science budget.
I mean, you don't got to convince us.
Good.
Yeah, if I had $2 billion, I would send another New Horizons out because, like you said, we're learning these things about sand dunes that you would have never, ever expected to see on a different planet.
You could
like
do
that.
2 New Horizons for $2 billion.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
We have a question. We have a question here from the
newest.
chat room from Honey's Warweb on Twitch. You were talking about the different geology on Pluto that we've discovered, and they want to know, is geology different for planets with icy features, like ice mountains, and how do you figure these things out from so far away?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the mountains on Pluto, we are confident they're made out of just regular frozen water, aka ice, and we're confident that it's not some other ice like nitrogen ice or methane ice because of how strong it has to be to support its weight.
Exactly.
So now, Lisa, there is an instrument on New Horizons called LISA that is...
It's my favorite instrument.
It's an imaging spectrometer, and it can tell what things are made out of by the reflected sunlight. And we know that there's water ice from the spectra coming from LISA. Thank you so much. And also, because of how tall they are, in order to support their weight, if they were made out of like frozen methane or frozen nitrogen, they would collapse or sag under their weight. But water ice at those distances from the sun is strong enough to support 10 to 20,000 foot mountains.
That is so epic.
Yeah.
Is that because of the molecular structure of water?
I think it has to. I think it has to do with the crystalline structure, so, more than molecular.
Oh, yeah.
But close. Yeah.
Wow. Oh man. We've got a couple more questions in the chat room here too. To Wicked wants to know the sand dunes that you talked about on Pluto. How do you know that they're sand dunes and not hills?
Well, I guess you could say that a sand dune is a type of hill. We know that they're hills, but their morphology, their shape, when you look at them, is exactly the same as a type of sand dune on Earth called transverse dunes. We also see these on Venus, Mars, and Titan. We see transverse sand dunes, and they're the exact same morphology. They're shaped the same way, and they're oriented in the direction you would expect winds to be blowing. So there's this mountain range called the Aladrisi mountain range, just to the northwest of these sand dunes on Pluto. And there's a type of wind called a katabatic wind. It's when you have dense air at night, and it's like an air avalanche, and it flows downhill off those mountains. And it's exactly 90 degrees to the way that the dunes are oriented. And also, there are these cool things with a fun name called a nunatak. There are these...
Nunatak?
Nunatak. It's an Inuit word.
It sounds like it.
It's an island surrounded by ice instead of water. But you have these water ice mountains sticking up amongst this nitrogen ice glacier, and there are these wind streaks in the downwind part of it that are aligned the same direction as the sand dunes are.
Oh my goodness.
So based on all of that, we're confident that they're sand dunes. I guess you could call them snowdrifts, but same thing. Basically.
Semantics.
Yeah. Well.
And actually, this is a good question from the chat once more. Hanny's Warburp from Twitch actually asks, would geology on Pluto be affected by its elongated orbit? Like, would the mountains melt at perigee?
That's a great question. And so Pluto's distance from the sun varies by 20 times the Earth-Sun distance, 20 astronomical units. It goes from 30 to 50 AU, astronomical units. And 1 AU is about 150 million kilometers. So right now, Pluto's actually at roughly perihelion, its closest approach to the Sun, which is still 30 AU, or 3 billion miles. So no, it's not going to melt. It never gets warmer than probably 50 Kelvin, 50 degrees above absolute zero.
Yeah.
That's cold.
But as it moves further from the Sun, the atmosphere doesn't completely freeze out, but a lot of it will snow out onto the surface as nitrogen snow.
Okay.
And then as it warms back up, some of that nitrogen snow would sublimate, turn directly into a gas, and would shrink some of the landforms. So Sputnik Planitia is this nitrogen ice glacier. You've seen the famous heart on Pluto?
Yes.
The left ventricle of the heart is this nitrogen ice glacier. And that we think that grows and shrinks with Pluto's seasons, controlled by Pluto's distance from the Sun.
Interesting. And then going back to all of these amazing epic discoveries we've made on the surface of Pluto, was there anything new that scientists discovered that, oh my gosh, we've never seen anything like this before, and we didn't even know this type of thing could exist? Was there any data like that?
Oh, sure, yeah. Couple examples are the stuff called washboard terrain. There's a paper just published by my colleague Oliver White, who's at NASA Ames Research Center, for a new type of glaciation that's been discovered on Pluto and nowhere else. Earth and Mars are the only planets where we've really seen glaciation, and Pluto's another planet where there's also glaciation happening. Nice. And but some of the washboard terrain, it's in a place to the off kind of the east side of the right ventricle of Pluto's heart called Tartarus Dorsa, and it's these huge blades of methane ice sticking up into the sky, and we think they are a type of ice landform called penitentes, which is a Spanish word, and I guess it roughly translates as like spike of ice.
Ouch.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
Taylor.
And
wow.
So when I've been in Argentina in the high Andes Plateau in a very Mars-like terrain, I've seen penitentes, and they are these sheets of ice with spikes that point towards the sun.
Oh my goodness.
And it's from preferential sublimation, where the sun will sublimate, turn directly into water vapor, the ice surrounding it, and you end up with these spikes of ice that's related to the latitude you're at. So at the equator, they'd be pointing straight up.
Okay.
As you move away from the equator, they start to tip over. And so there's a limit. So if you're past, like, I don't know, 28, 29 degrees north or south, you don't get penitentes because they fall over.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
And
So it's like...
Yeah, and they only form in high altitude equatorial regions where you can have snowfall.
So interesting.
Yeah. And we think Pluto has, like, so on Earth, these are like a few meters tall.
Yeah.
A few tens of feet at most. On Pluto, they're like kilometers tall.
Towering.
Yeah. And made out of methane and not water ice.
I mean, talk about, I'm just going to say this. We have like the 7 wonders of the Earth or whatever. I can't wait till we start naming the wonders of other bodies out there, because it sounds like Pluto pretty much already has like a dozen that could be considered wonders.
Pluto's super weird.
It's so weird in the best way possible.
In the best way. Keep it weird, Pluto.
Oh yeah, keep it weird.
To link directly into that, there's a question here from Tawicked in the chat room, who asks, you're given the opportunity to decide the location of the first Pluto lander/rover combo. Where would you put it and why?
How far can you drive? If it's a rover, how far can you drive?
Let's just say it's like nuclear powered with like an RTG, because you know,
because cold.
Yeah, yeah. So it's going to heat it.
So
and,
typically, from a geologic sense, you want to go where the most geologic units come together in one spot. And that was the strategy taken by the Mars rover Curiosity. Right when it landed, there were 3 geologic units, different types of rock formations that formed in different ways. And so the rover went there first because it could explore, get a lot of variety in a short area. Oh my goodness. So I would probably send a Pluto rover with a limited roving distance, probably where Cthulhu Regio, which is this dark equatorial band.
It sounds dark. That name is like mysterious villain name.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Where Cthulhu Regio meets some of the mountains close to the Aladrisi Mountains, which is also really close to Sputnik Planitia, which is also close to some of the cratered highlands. There's kind of these areas right in there where they all kind of come together. And I think you could get the most geologic diversity in a place like that. Now, having said that, we don't know what a lot of Pluto looks like because, you know, as the spacecraft, New Horizons, flew past Pluto, you know, we didn't get to orbit. We only saw one hemisphere of Pluto close up. And Pluto spins once every 6 days. So as the New Horizons spacecraft was on approach to Pluto, we saw the far side of Pluto, but only from a really long ways away, so it's blurry. Also, a lot of the southern hemisphere was in like quasi-permanent seasonal winter darkness. So we just have no idea what it looks like at all. Oh my gosh. So given what we know, that's where I would send the rover. But if we ever got a Pluto orbiter, we could map the entire planet and then we can make a more informed decision where we could go.
You've convinced me. I definitely want a Pluto orbiter now. I don't know about you guys. If you think we should go to Pluto, leave a comment. But I think that would be cool.
I agree.
We need, what, $2 billion to send one out?
Oh, man, a rover, that's hard because with New Horizons, you didn't have to slow down.
Yeah,
we were just
fair.
trucking by, I don't know, something like 12 kilometers per second, didn't have to slow down.
Pretty darn fast.
Yeah, you got to slow down a lot to land, and that's rocket fuel, and that's a rocket stage, and that's really heavy.
If we had like a BFR online, though, would that make it possible to have these extended Pluto missions?
A BFR would be very enabling, yeah. A BFR is a little bit more powerful than a Saturn V, and so especially if you could do in-space refueling with the BFR, then you could cheat the rocket equation, and you could do things like Pluto landers. And anything's possible with more money. You know,
There you go.
know, space is not spelled with an S at the beginning. Space is actually spelled with a $sign at the beginning.
You're not wrong there.
So,
Very cool. So, yeah, going back into the chat, there's a couple of interesting questions. So you mentioned Ultima Thule, and that's how you pronounce
Ultima
it?
Thule.
Thule, sorry.
Ultima Thule.
Thule, I said it the pleading
H
way.
is silent.
I apologize. Thule. Zweeby in the chat asks, how comparable will be the scientific observations done of Ultima Thule to that of Pluto?
okay, so we're going to be coming 3 times closer. The New Horizons spacecraft will come 3 times closer to Ultima Thule than we did to Pluto. That being said, Pluto is well over 1,000 kilometers in diameter. Ultima Thule is 30. So it's small. It's about the same size as Saturn's small kind of moonlets that orbit close, like Pan and Atlas, those little tiny Saturnian moons that kind of orbit near the rings. Ultima Thule is about the same size, 30 kilometers. It's a 30-kilometer size, basically icy asteroid. We call them Kuiper Belt objects. I think the highest resolution we'll get is a few hundred meters per pixel. So, you know, you can see big regions. We're not going to see things as close up as we did on Pluto. At Pluto, the highest resolution we got was 79 meters per pixel. We're not going to quite get that much with Ultima Thule. But it will be better than anything else ever seen out there. So.
Absolutely.
Is there a way that, like, the public, like, say our people at home, the community, people watching this on demand, if they want to, like, obviously you're not going to get a live stream from New Horizons approaching Ultima Thule. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But how can we get excited and all sharing that moment together?
Oh, I love getting excited about space. Okay, there's a few great websites. On New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, NASA TV, nasa.gov/ I think NASA TV or something, will be carrying live streams from APL, where I work, Johns Hopkins APL, which is running the mission for NASA. You can also go to NASA's photojournal, photojournal.jpl.nasa.gov, and you can click on, there's a little picture of a comet. It's called Small Bodies. You can click on that. You can select pictures from New Horizons, and you'll see images about as quickly as we can post them.
Oh, wow.
And that's going to be right around in a few days after New Year's Day, 2019.
Those photos on that website are amazing. Basically, any of the images you see on the show today are from that photojournal website. Really, really cool. Great stuff. And I think it's really important that we have those kind of visual assets to get people excited. Because
you should bookmark that page. Just bookmark that page
there
in your browser.
Go. Just refresh.
I think it's F5.
There you go.
Just
hit
keep
F5.
smashing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great point you bring up, the visuals, because, I mean, as soon as we started getting those high-resolution images back from Pluto, I mean, I think everybody, it was like a ubiquitous stun. Everyone was like, because, you know, for so long we thought Pluto was this, like, lifeless kind of ball of ice, and it's like, oh no, Pluto's much more than meets the eye.
Oh, yes. It's one of the most geologically complex planets in the solar system.
And who would have thought?
Right.
Who would have thought?
Right. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, like if you had to pick one specific point on Pluto that is your favorite, whether it's because it looks the prettiest or because it has the most interesting science or because it's something that you never would have thought existed in the solar system, what is that part of Pluto for you?
Okay, can I tell a story?
Yes,
Go
please.
This is
for
fun.
it.
Okay, so
That's why we're here.
during the New Horizons flyby in mid-July of 2015, I was on the team. I was in the geology mission control room, and people are downloading the pictures as they're coming back. So it was like a day after closest approach. There were 3 high-resolution pictures we were going to get down first, not just of the entire planet, but of little areas really zoomed in. Okay, the first one of those that came back was of Sputnik Planitia, this nitrogen ice glacier, and there's no craters on it. You see these weird, like, kind of curvy lines through there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people were staring at this one guy's computer monitor of that. And then there was this FTP server that I was rsynching into, and I was downloading the second picture that was coming back, and no one else was doing that. I was the only one doing that at that point. And it was half downloaded from 3 billion miles away. So there's a black bar at the bottom. But the part that wasn't black was of the Tensing Montes.
Oh.
And everyone else wasn't looking at that. They were looking at this other guy's picture. And I'm like, hey, guys, there's mountains on Pluto. And
they're like, what?
No one heard me at first because they were worried about the glacier or whatever. You know, I'm like, guys, there's mountains on Pluto. As far as I know, I'm the first person to discover mountains on Pluto.
Wow.
Just a fun story, you know. And so
just throwing it out there.
Yeah. So the Tensing Montes, which is on the southern part of the heart right there, just north of the Right Mons cryovolcano, I think that's kind of my favorite area of Pluto because I was the first one to see it.
Aww.
Wait, you said cryovolcano.
Cryovolcano.
Can't just let that slip
out.
Thanks for asking. A cryovolcano, it's a cold volcano. So instead of erupting molten rock, the volcano, we think, if it actually is a volcano, would erupt molten ice.
Oh.
AKA water. Yes.
Like liquid water,
yeah.
I mean. Yeah.
But with the twist, because it has a lot of impurities in it, like ammonia, NH3.
Oh, okay.
Ammonia, methane to the extent that you can dissolve that. And that much ammonia dissolved in there could lower the freezing point by about 100 degrees Celsius.
Oh, okay.
So you could actually erupt liquid water mixed with ammonia,
exactly.
let it flow. Windex. It's like my Big Fat Greek Wedding. Put some Windex on it. And it would kind of kind of flows down, and it forms like this nice edifice, a shield volcano, like just like Olympus Mons. Yes, like Olympus Mons on Mars, or like Mauna Kea or Mauna Loa in Hawaii. But instead of being made out of the rock basalt, it's made out of the rock ice.
Oh my god.
So we think there's another cryovolcano that we only have seen in twilight images. So the planet's atmosphere actually scatters sunlight, so you could actually see in the darkness a little bit. And just south of Wright Mons, named after the Wright brothers, there's Picard Mons.
Of course.
Yes. And Star Trek: The Next Generation is my Star Trek. And so it's Picard Mons.
You can have it.
Yes. It's actually it's not Jean-Luc Picard because it's spelled with 2 C's, but it's still Picard Mons.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. And so there's another cryovolcano that we've only seen in twilight on Pluto.
Oh, man.
And
That
those
is
twilight
really
pictures are really
interesting.
pretty. Yeah.
So there was a question, and you know what? It's kind of farther back in the chat. I believe we had highlighted it, but this actually goes along with it pretty well. Raj Luthar had asked, do you know or have some idea of what is in the interior of Pluto? Because if we're having this level of activity, then do we have an idea of what's going on underground?
We have some inferences.
Yeah.
Pluto and all the planets are about 4.5 billion years old. We have some ideas about how planets form. And as you move further from the sun, you run out of heavy things like metal to make planets out of. So like Mercury is mostly iron core with a little bit of rocky crust on the outside.
Yeah.
As you move further from the sun, small planets like Pluto, you mostly have things we think of as gases frozen out as ices to make those planets. And so instead of having like metallic cores, we think they're more rocky cores because rock is less dense than metal. So we suspect that Pluto has a rocky core. It may have like an ocean of liquid water around that rocky core, or it may have had in the past and has since frozen. Actually, my planetary geophysics colleagues, they're like right on the fence. Like, does Pluto still have liquid water in its interior? It's like it could go either way. We don't know. We don't have enough data to know right now.
What do we need to send? What kind of instruments do we need to send to confirm that?
So, InSight just landed on Mars.
That's what I was
would
thinking.
have to do the Pluto version of InSight, land some seismometers on Pluto.
That'd be difficult, though, because wouldn't there be like a level of like just like really intense permafrost? Because like you said, like things are so cold out there that like water ice acts like rock almost. So it'd need to be pretty heavy duty, right?
Sure, to survive those temperatures and to, it'd have to be heavy duty, and you'd ideally have several of them. But you could also track the radio beacons coming out of those stationary landers, and by very precisely tracking how Pluto rotates, you can kind of tell what's in the middle. It's like taking a raw egg and a hard-boiled egg and spinning them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you stop them, the raw egg will keep spinning because the yolk and the white are still spinning on the inside.
Momentum.
But the hard-boiled egg, they're solid, and so they're not still spinning. So you can, and actually InSight's doing that for Mars. By tracking very precisely how a planet spins, you can infer what's on the inside.
Wow,
Isn't that cool?
My language.
That is
absolutely
Now,
wonderful.
I study surface rocks. I just study the pictures of what's on the surface.
Yeah.
People who are better at mathing do the geophysics on the inside.
Got it.
There's another question here from Heat Shield on YouTube. They want to know a little bit about the how we work out what chemicals are actually there. They asked, It'd be cool if we had mini sats like firing down at the surface with imaging and chemical analysis data sent back before they crash. Kind of like there was the L-Cross mission that crashed in the moon. They had to look at everything that was kicked up from that impact, and we're able to kind of see what it's made of. So could we do that at Pluto, and how do we work out what chemicals are there?
Well, you can do anything with more money, so sure. But what we have from New Horizons is the LISA spectrometer. We also have another camera called Ralph. It's not an acronym; it's just named Ralph, and it can image in blue light, red light, and two wavelengths of infrared light. And one of those is centered on where methane absorbs, and so you can kind of map the distribution of methane on Pluto and Charon, because Charon is Pluto's big satellite planet. They're like two planets orbiting each other, and so between Lisa and Ralph, you can look at the spectra of what's on the surface and get an idea of what's there. But with I love the CubeSat idea. I love crashing into the Pluto or landing and doing like mass spectrometry, where you can actually like take the stuff itself and you like rotate it in a magnetic field and look at its mass and charge, and you can tell what it's made out of better that way. That'd be super cool. Definitely. Just more money.
I feel like we need to make this happen. I feel like you're really selling this, and if anyone here is watching that has, the monetary value or even the lobbying power to kind of get, if we make a big deal out of this, so we want to go back to Pluto, want to keep exploring it, we have the power to make this happen. So show your support in the comments below, or by tweeting at people at NASA and people that have the power to make this happen.
So I don't have to convince you that I love Pluto, but there's more than 120 other Pluto-sized planets out there beyond Pluto.
Yes.
They're all roughly the same size. I mean, they're all a little bit smaller than Pluto, but in that ballpark, there's over 120 other planets roughly the same size in just our own solar system. I'm not talking about exoplanets. Those are in the hundreds that we've already discovered with missions like Kepler and other detection techniques. But just in our solar system, there are over 120, probably closer to 300 small planets out there beyond Pluto. So, as geologically diverse as Pluto is, think about how much other geologic diversity and how many weird new worlds there are to discover that we need to send spacecraft to. Because with telescopes, they're just points of light. And we can tell a little bit of what they're made out of and what their spin is and a little bit of what their mass is, as if they have a moon. Using Newton's law of universal gravitation, we can figure out their mass. But to really see it up close and to get a sense of what these planets are like as places where we could envision ourselves or our robotic emissaries, we need to send more missions. We've got more than 120 to choose from. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say, looking into the future then and exploring more of these worlds, after Ultima Thule, is New Horizons, is there more prospective targets after that one?
That's a great question. So New Horizons probably will not encounter up close another Kuiper Belt object beyond Ultima Thule. The trajectory is such that it really can't be changed that much. We're running low on gas, which is called hydrazine.
Yeah.
And
nasty stuff.
Yeah, well, it's great for spacecraft. It's very healthy for spacecraft, very bad for you. Don't drink it.
Got it.
But what New Horizons is going to do, pending NASA support, is to do distant observations of other Kuiper Belt objects using the really high-power zoom camera called LORRI. And, from Earth's perspective, from our telescopes, including the Hubble Space Telescope, we can only see Kuiper Belt objects basically from the perspective that the sun sees them. But with the spacecraft out in the Kuiper Belt, you can look kind of sideways. You can get different what are called photometric measurements. You can get different solar phase angles, different sun object spacecraft angles, and you can learn a lot just by seeing how they rotate and getting what's called their light curve.
Nice.
And so we hope to do more of that with the spacecraft after the Ultima Thule encounter. And also, it's going to take about 2 years to get the data, all the data back. You just did a Spock eyebrow. That was cool.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
One eyebrow.
I always call it my Jack Black eyebrow, but that's cool too.
Yeah. So it's going to take almost 2 years transmitting at like maybe a kilobit per second. So like forget 1990s modem speed. This is slower.
Even more vintage. I like the throwback.
Yes.
Very cool.
So it's going to take a long time to get all the data back, but this mission has plenty of time.
You just completely sold this mission to me. Like, I was always excited about New Horizons because it's going to Pluto, it's going somewhere we'd never been. But the amount of excitement that you show for it and the amount of science and new knowledge we got back from it has just been so incredible. And yet, recently, Pluto kind of got demoted. We have a question from Tickle Stuff here, and it's the question we asked at the beginning of the show. I want to loop us back there. Did the IAU get it wrong when they worked to demote Pluto as a planet? And does the definition of a planet matter if we're still getting excited about it?
I love this topic. Okay, so the IAU, the International Astronomical Union, henceforth just the IAU, right, on August 24th, 2006, they voted to classify Pluto as a dwarf planet. And I actually completely agree with that, because dwarf just means little.
Yeah.
And Pluto's little. It's a little planet. I'm fine with that. What I really disagree with are two things. The way they did it, and also their nonsensical, contradictory statement that, and they literally say this, that dwarf planets are not planets. They say that. No, of course dwarf planets are planets.
Right?
Okay, let's take inventory of the solar system here, okay? Starting outward from the sun, we have terrestrial planets. These are rocky and metallic planets. Mercury, Venus, Earth. I'm going to include the moon here for that because it's a small planet orbiting a big planet. It's a round, rocky, metallic world. Mars, and maybe even Ceres in the asteroid belt could be considered a terrestrial planet. Okay, that just means rocky. We've got 4 giant planets that are further subdivided into ice giants, Uranus and Neptune, and gas giant planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, we're putting an adjective in front of a noun. We're saying what kind of planet it is.
Exactly.
And then we've got small planets that I'm just going to kind of make up my own definition. Feel free to disagree, but anything small